All right. Romeo, there you go. Lord have mercy. I said, oh, Romeo. Romeo, my Romeo, there you go. Hey, all right. Say it again. On the radio, on the radio, on the radio, in a band. One more time.
It's time for the truth, and you found the home of it right here.
He wants the white suburbs to be terrified of Black Lives Matter and to think that it's some sort of revolution against the police, etc.
It's time to giddy up. Let's do this, Chicago. Let's make the Census Cowboy proud.
But we need to completely dismantle the Minneapolis Police Department. The Minneapolis Police Department is rotten. So when we dismantle it, we get rid of that cancer.
Here's your truth-telling, freedom-loving, flag-waving host, John James.
Yes, sir. Let's go. Y'all ready for freedom? We got it on tap here. Pull up a stool. Boy, that flag waving was a little high for the camera, I realize now. 9:13. I am John James, your friendly host. And happy Thursday. Wow, the week's going by because we're a short week here already. It's almost over. Because we started on Tuesday, and that's okay. I'm good with that. I'm fine with starting on a Tuesday. I wish every week could start on a Tuesday, as a matter of fact. I wish Friday would be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday would be the weekend, then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday would be the work week. In a perfect world. Some people have that. My wife has that. Actually, my wife has 3 days. She works 3 days, sometimes 3 and 2/3. But she's a nurse. She's on her feet all the time, and her shifts are 12 hours long. So I don't think I'd want that. I don't know if I could hold up physically. I think probably it would be good for me, though, to walk around a little. I've got to get out, and I've got to do more walking. And I keep saying I'm going back to the gym. I am going back to the gym. In fact, I didn't get my new shorts. My wife got me some new gym shorts because you can't wear dungarees. You can't wear jeans at the Planet Fitness. They don't like that. They don't allow that. I guess it staves up the equipment or something. I don't know. So I got some gym shorts, and now I guess supposedly I'm good to go. I've just got to get to the gym now. That's and to make matters worse, today would be a good day to go to the gym. Any day would be a good day to go to the gym. But I just got an email when I get in here. My friend just messaged me, and he said he needs to get a little information on streaming and, doing live video blogs and stuff. He wants to get together with me. He said Chinese tonight. Well, there goes the gym idea, I guess, for another day. Temptations. 9:14 here on Legacy 11. Oh, speaking of the Temptations, I guess the lead singer, I wasn't familiar with this lead singer. It must have been a new lead singer, just died. I'm going to get the name for you right now. I don't remember. I remember David Ruffin as the lead singer, but, former lead singer of Bruce Williamson. Did I know of him? The name sounds familiar. I knew David Ruffin. Obviously, David Ruffin was big time. He was one of the lead singers. I guess Williamson was too, and I just wasn't aware of him. So how things how things happen in my mind here, talking about temptation, then thinking about the temptations. It's 9:15 here, and coming up, we've got a lot of audio for you this morning. You're going to want to hear it. It's very informational. It'll give you a little perspective on what's going on, a little of both sides, and that's what we aim to do here. And of course, more part of our Black Voices Matter series. We will get into some good audio from a couple more Black voices and hear what they have to say. And the left won't like it. They don't, because they don't recognize, the funny thing is, this is hilarious too, given the stories I've got today. The left does not recognize Black conservatives as real blacks. They call them Uncle Toms. Right? They do. They do. Yet, they will recognize somebody who's white and identifies as Black. If they're liberal, they recognize them as Black. And there are a number of cases. I mean, Rachel Dolezal, the NAACP, right? She was the leader of the NAACP. She was white, masquerading as a Black. And there's a college professor, George Washington University, that is no longer there, who has been masquerading as white, totally accepted by the college. Then you've got Pocahontas, who used her Native American heritage to become a head of Harvard, part of the law school. And I'm thinking, when it comes to liberals, now this is a serious question, by the way. Does liberal trump everything else you claim to be? If you're a liberal, they don't investigate your background? Because how could somebody like Rachel Dolezal become head of an NAACP branch or the organization or whatever she was? How can a white woman being Black work for George Washington University as a professor for years? How can somebody like Pocahontas be touted as the first minority hired by Harvard Law School? I mean, listen to me here. I need to get official certification of my mother's birth records and background information. I need to prove my mother's heritage, prove it in paper before I can join the Calumet Club. But yet, I can claim to be an Indian and go get a cushy job at Harvard Law School, all the while faking who I am. How does that even work? I don't buy the fact that Elizabeth Warren, by the way, I never have bought the fact, well, my mother told me I was Native American and we've got the high cheekbones. No, if you're told you're Native American and you're astute and you're educated, you go back and you look at your heritage. You are naturally a curious person. You look at your heritage. It's not like it's difficult with online resources now. You look and see. But until Donald Trump, God bless him, forced that DNA test on her, she would be parading around as an American Indian today. Not 1,096 of an Indian. 20 past 9 o'clock. Oh, we have so much fun to get to today. I hope you share the video. I hope you share the audio at legacy1160.com. Hope you share the radio station. Tell your friends. Tune in. Listen. Be a part. Learn about freedom. Learn a little bit about both sides and make your own decision about what you think. We'll get to all of what's going on and more coming up. Let's start out like we always do, though. Today in history, because here at Legacy 1160 WSKW, we don't tear down our history, we celebrate it. Good and bad. Good and bad. You don't have to celebrate it in a good way to remember it, to recall it. You don't have to be racist to look at the statues and know where we came from. I would say no, never mind. Let's find out what happened on September the 10th. We saw in years past. Whoops, hold on. I just heard myself. I think there must be something going on here on the computer that shouldn't be. Would it be YouTube? Yes, it would. Yes, it would be YouTube. Okay, so here's what happened on September 10th in history. The Associated Press.
September 10th, 1989. A sign of communism facing its collapse in Eastern Europe. Hungary allows about 7,000 refugees from communist East Germany to leave for non-communist West Germany. The move effectively bypasses the Berlin Wall, an iconic symbol of the Cold War, which falls just months later. 1935.
We find our houses empty and our people hungry, many of them half-clothed and many of them not clothed at all.
Louisiana's U.S. Senator Huey Long, the Depression-era populist known as the Kingfish, dies 2 days after he shot in Baton Rouge. Long's bodyguards gunned down his assailant Carl Weiss immediately after he opened fire on the senator at the Louisiana State Capitol. 1846. Elias Howe receives a patent for his sewing machine, the device which brings clothing into the modern age. 1955. Gunsmoke premieres on TV on CBS just a few years after the popular Western debuts on radio. The TV series starring James Arness as Marshal Matt Dillon runs for the next 20 years. And 1945.
Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad.
Christmas in September? Not quite. Singer and guitarist Jose Feliciano, whose song Feliz Navidad is a Christmas classic, is born in Puerto Rico. Today in history, September 10th. Ed Donahue, The Associated Press.
$9:23. Legacy 1160 WSKW. Coming up, I know we're sharing with some gun groups. Always do. And just to let you know, we do have some gun news coming up. Maybe some of it you've heard, maybe some of it you haven't. Very interesting. We had that story the other day about the Colorado kid who was suspended from school, literally suspended from being schooled on the computer. He was suspended from virtual school because the teacher saw a toy gun move past his screen as he moved. He's got ADHD. He moved a toy gun from, maybe he was, I don't know, anxious, whatever. I don't know. I had a kid with ADHD. They just move. They move around. He moved a toy gun from one side to the other. They called the teacher called the police on him, had the family checked out. They suspended him from virtual school, Mike's head wants. Mike says his head's going to explode. I concur with that, my friend. Now you've got race training in the Bangor schools, and I see my friends. I say friends. I use that term loosely. My friends, well, you know, people are complaining about them teaching all this diversity training in school. Just let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Sorry about that. That was terrible. Just let it go. Morgan Freeman, quote of the century. When asked by Mike Wallace, how do we end racism? Morgan Freeman said, stop talking about it. Kids have to learn to be racist before they have to learn what racism is before they can be racist. Otherwise, I didn't know about racism. I knew there were bad words I shouldn't say because they were offensive to some people, and I didn't say them. But I went to school with a Chinese kid, a Russian kid, a black kid. They were just kids. They were just kids. So now you're going to set the kids down in class and say, well, you notice this kid over here is black and this one is Asian. Now we've got to accept. Why point out the differences? Just let people alone. Teach reading, writing, arithmetic, public schools. Teach them what they need to know when they get older. Let them use their moral compass to guide them along. Yes, racism is bad. We learn that soon enough. But it's not something you can teach. It's moral values. It's respecting humans as humans. Stop trying to teach morals and values. Stop it. The media is complicit in helping. On the other hand, I think the attacks against the teacher were off base too. In the Bangor Daily News, I don't know. I guess there were. I didn't see. I heard there were some very hostile and threatening things. Target public education. Target the school district. Go to a meeting. I think it's good the video was shared. I really do. I think it's sort of because they don't want things. They don't even want parents to be watching when the kid is taking class. We don't want the parents to know what we're teaching. Well, guess what? Parents going to find out. Some of us parents and grandparents are pretty smart technologically, and you don't know what we can do. If you're on Zoom, if you are on the internet, you will be watched. You will. Sorry. That's the way it works. That's my thing, not yours. You can't tell me not to watch. You have no right in my house telling me what I can watch. If I want to watch what my kid is taking in my house, I will watch it. I have the means, I have the way, and I have the desire. And if you teach something that is against what I believe is morally right, I will record it and I will share it to social media and I will let them decide if it's good or bad. That's called letting the community decide. Why is that any different than all the hate and vitriol that goes on social media all the time anyway? Might as well let people see what kids are being taught in the schools. That, in my mind, is not sharing something I shouldn't be sharing, an illegal act. It's not something that's against district I don't care if it's against district policy. Sue me. Hey, you're on the public internet. You're in my house. Sorry, all bets are off. Good luck getting me for that. Let the community decide what is being taught, if it is good or bad. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they'll say, well, this is where we're going. This is what we've got to do. You're wrong for sharing it. They're right for teaching it. Well, okay. Let the cards fall where they may. But don't tell me I can't watch the lessons. First of all, it's stupid to say that because, basic, there's more complicated ways of doing it, but basically, all I need to do is get a Y adapter, or I can use an extra video card, and I can sit there unseen, eating popcorn, watching the kid's class while you're watching the kid. You don't know I'm there. Good luck. You don't want to get called out because of what you teach? Then maybe we should rethink what we're teaching kids. Reading, writing, arithmetic. Not the fact that climate change is going to kill us in 11 years. Not the fact that, people are different and people are racist. This teacher actually said Well, I've been, my sex, my gender has caused me. Stop it. If you're gonna start bringing yourself into it, if it's gonna be woe is me, give some examples. Tell us how gender has affected you. I was listening to Mike's show, and she said something like, when I go out during the day, neighbors call and ask, where are the kids today? That never happens to my husband. What? I swear, is it the fact that younger people are even the educated younger people are just more dumb than they used to be? Really? I'm sorry. This is all driving me crazy. I completely get where Mike's coming from when he says his head's going to explode. And we've only begun. I mean, what I've talked about so far, I didn't even have a plan to talk about any of this. This just happened this morning. And the school sports, the edict by Janet Mills. Well, they're playing in New Hampshire. They're playing fall sports in New Hampshire. Well, there's a difference between Maine and New Hampshire. 2 words about New Hampshire that makes New Hampshire a better place to be a student than Maine. Chris Sununu. That's all I'm going to say about that. 9:32, we've got a lot more coming up. Now we're going to get into the stuff I've got planned, I think, unless something else comes up. 621-9759, 621-9759, the voice line. You want to text me, 207-441-6969. This is your pep rally for freedom. I'm John James.
WSKW, Legacy 1160.
I want to tell you about all of the incredible items you can find at Townline Antiques, but there's no substitute for seeing them in person and reliving those wonderful memories for yourself. Now's the perfect time to shop through their great selection of furniture, artwork, classic electronics, sports memorabilia, jewelry, books, glassware, home decor, and so much more. Take home something to decorate a room with style. Add to your collection or share wonderful memories of your past with family and friends. Townline Antiques, open Tuesday through Sunday from 10 to 5. Route 201, right on the Winslow-Vassaboro Town Line.
Maine Voter Information Hotline, can I help you?
Yes, I'm calling about those ads running for Susan Collins, the ones attacking Sarah Gideon.
Yes, ma'am. We've been getting a lot of calls about those.
Huh. Well, are they true? Like what they say about Sarah Gideon and taxes?
Well, it says here newspapers have been speaking out about those. The Portland Press-Herald said the ads were largely out of context, and the Bangor Daily News said the ad misleads on Gideon's record of paying taxes.
Interesting. But is it true that Gideon raised taxes in Augusta?
No, ma'am. Says here Sarah Gideon helped lower taxes for the middle class, including sponsoring the first direct property tax relief bill to pass in many years.
I told Bert I remembered that. I should get him to call you.
I'll leave that to you, ma'am. We are pretty busy these days.
I can only imagine. Good luck.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm Sarah Gideon, running for U.S. Senate, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Sarah Gideon from Maine.
Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Center.
If your car is a wreck and you don't know where to go,
take it to Moody's.
You want to get on with your life, get on with the show,
take it to Moody's.
Good people you can trust and it won't be a fuss.
Take it to Moody's Collision Centers.
M-O-O-D-Y. Your kid was talking on the cell phone, drove right through your own home, sitting in the parking lot. Maybe you get hit a lot, driving through the green light. Suddenly your side swipe, put it in reverse, but it turned out that it was first.
Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Centers.
I'm CBS 13 meteorologist Lexi O'Connor. Areas of dense fog this morning and cloudy, becoming partly sunny, warm and humid today with highs in the upper 70s and 80s. Chance for a shower or thunderstorm late afternoon and evening. Becoming mostly sunny, less humid and cooler for tomorrow with highs just around 70. Sunny and nice Saturday with the chance for showers Sunday.
Your pep rally for freedom is back. Powered by the Gun Shop in Augusta on Coney Circle. Now, here's John James.
Well, good morning. Welcome to the show. Good morning. Thanks for the shouts out. Chase, my nephew, a law enforcement officer, great guy. Thank you very much for the comment. I'm glad to have you in here now this morning, buddy. Thank you so much. Hope you're doing well. Casey, I love the dancing guy. Thank you for the dancing guy. That always makes me laugh. Always gives me a good laugh. Angela, we the people win by muting freedom of press. We the people win by muting freedom of press. I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that. I think I know, but I'm not exactly sure. Change is inevitable. And I think there may have been some static. I don't know if you've still got it now, but we sometimes I have a problem with one of the connections here on the video stream. So I fixed that up. And yes, the Moody's jingle is very catchy. I can't help but sing it when I'm listening in my vehicle. I usually have commercials and such turned down. Good morning, Donna. And Dottie, hi. Oh, and that was Dottie that was asking about the static. Okay, yeah, it may have been me. A little static in my voice this morning, actually, if you want to be honest about it. 621-975-9621 WSKW. You can text us at 207-441-6969, and I'll try to keep up on all the platforms this morning. Good morning. Wish me luck. I'm taking my election poll worker exam. Hey, that's going to be my buddy Paul in Miami. Good luck, my friend. Good luck on that. And it looks like, speaking of presidential elections, it looks more likely now that we're going to have ranked choice voting when it comes to the presidential election this year. You know what my thought is on ranked choice voting? Here it is. Here's my thought on ranked choice voting. Don't do it. Ranked choice is still a choice. Did you know that? Do people know that? Spread it around far and wide. Please. We can get rid of ranked choice voting simply by not doing it. You're only obligated when you vote. You aren't obligated to check anything, really, but what's the point of voting if you're going to leave it blank, right? So what you do is you go to the polls and you choose the person you most want to be elected and call it good. You don't have to check your second choice. You don't have to do that. One person, one vote. That's all you've got to do. That's all you've got to do. And if you just check one person, your vote is going to be counted for the one person, and ranked choice will not come into play. That's all you've got to do. So spread that around. People think, oh, no, I've got to make another choice. So I voted for Donald Trump. Who do I vote for now? Joe Jorgensen? Who the hell is that? Well, that's the Libertarian. Joe Biden? Well, okay, I'll vote Donald Trump, number one, and Joe Biden, number two, because I know him. And Joe Jorgensen, who is a woman, I don't know. I'll put her third. You don't have to do that. Just check one box. If ranked, and it looks like it is going to be part of the presidential election. I don't know. I really like Matt Dunlap. He's a really good guy. He's a great guy, but sometimes I scratch my head when these things happen over at the Secretary of State's office. But, it is what it is, right? The rules for getting signatures to put something on the ballot, it's very convoluted. It's very strange. Understandable. We don't want people from out of state coming in here and collecting signatures. But as I understand it, if somebody from out of state is working with people to get signatures, the person who is collecting the signature must be a Mainer, must be a registered Maine voter. So I don't know. It's very, very complicated, as is ranked choice voting. That's why I tell you, pretend ranked choice voting doesn't exist. Pretend it never happened. Pretend it was a horrible dream and just vote for the candidate you want to win. There's a brilliant idea, and it'll save any confusion. Older people especially have a really hard time grasping the concept. What does this mean? What do? I need help. And you're sitting at home. They're sitting at home, so they call somebody to help. Call somebody who maybe is a registered Democrat or Republican. I don't know. Say Democrat, for example. Somebody who's inclined to vote for Donald Trump needs help ranked choice voting. So they get their Democrat friend. So how do I do this? Well, let's see. You pick Joe Biden as number 1. You pick Donald Trump as number 2. And there you go. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I am just saying, screw ranked choice voting. Just don't do it. It doesn't exist if you don't want it to. 9:41 here on Legacy 1160 WSKW. Oh, well, the texts are flying in. Now that the progressive communist agenda is out of the box and is so blatantly pushed in our faces, how will it ever be put back in the box? Ranked choice vote, same per. There you go. Ranked choice vote, same per. Can you do that? I don't even know if you can do that. You don't have to vote ranked choice, do you? You just have to check one. Just check your candidate. That's all I did last time. I can't remember who were we voting for last time. So confused. It's so confusing. All I remember is I didn't rank choice vote. I checked one, and I assume my vote got counted. You never know, of course, but you assume. There's no way to tell. I mean, I'd like to think I'm going to investigate to see if my vote was actually counted. You can't, how can you do that? How can you do that? That would make quite an investigation, though, wouldn't it? 9:42 on Legacy 1160 WSKW. And let's, you know this. Now, you didn't hear this on any of the news channels. Fox News had it. It's the only one. If you watch Lester Holt or David Muir or whoever is on CBS now, you don't know that Donald Trump was nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize by what? Norwegian Assemblymen or whatever? Nobel Peace Prize. None of the networks covered it. No, they did book promotion. They did it last night, the night before last. They did it for Michael Cohen in his new anti-Trump book. Last night, they did it for Bob Woodward in his new anti-Trump book, never mentioning that Donald Trump has been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. And they also never mentioned that Biden was nominated for the Nobel Booby Prize. That's a true story right there, I'm telling you right now. And according to a new study, people who care for spouses with Alzheimer's disease face a higher risk of depression. So please pray for Jill Biden, would you? No, I'm not making fun. No, it is a horrible thing. I'm just saying Joe Biden's mental acuity is something to be called into question. I wouldn't do it with a regular person, of course not. But he has put himself out there. He, his wife, his family have given him their blessing and said, go, Joe, go do it, knowing he is failing mentally. There's, I guess there's sort of something to be said for standing behind somebody you love. But don't you have to question their ability to gauge what is really an act of love and what is really a little cruel, I think, to put him out there running for president. So what's going on? What's going on? Well, lots of stuff. New Best Picture inclusion rules by the Academy. Heard about this? In order to be I keep thinking back. I keep thinking back to why all this is happening. And it's because somebody resisted arrest. It's because George Floyd resisted arrest. That started the whole thing. George Floyd resisted arrest, would not comply with repeated requests by arresting officers to comply. Just comply, George. They're being very kind. They're being very professional. And then he didn't. And then that's when it happened. That's when the cop, Derek Chauvin, pinned his neck to the ground. There's still a lot we don't know about this, by the way. For one thing, they say he had ingested a lethal amount of drug, and there was video of it on his tongue before he swallowed it as part of the arrest. And they're saying that other cops are saying that this would be good protocol if you fear for the person being arrested. He was high, he was strung out on something, probably why he was resisting arrest. And Derek Chauvin could have well been trying to protect him from getting up and running out into traffic, endangering himself and others. A lot we don't know about it. But anyway, but the point I'm getting to is because of that incident, which should have been dealt with quickly, harshly, and a discussion should have begun. But because of that, here's where we are. The whole world is changing around us as if it hadn't changed enough with COVID-19. I mean, that in and of itself, I can't imagine that the world has changed as much as quickly, at least in this country, at any time in history than it has in the past 6 or 8 months. I cannot imagine a change this swift and dramatic has ever taken place in this country, ever. Save for maybe the Civil War. I obviously wasn't alive for the Civil War. So now the Academy Awards, the Oscars, have changed their rules for winning Best Picture. Inclusion rules. You have to meet 2 of 4 requirements, including inclusion of cast members to be, of color, different ethnicity, LGBTQ, mentally or physically handicapped. So there are different, that suffice it to say, this is some of the criteria that if this picture does not include 2 of the 4 new rules for inclusion, doesn't matter if they're the best picture or not. Doesn't matter. If they don't meet those requirements, they can't be best picture. Is this making any sense at all to you? So actress Kirstie Alley's not too impressed. Not at all. She told the Hollywood decision maker, "You people have lost your minds." Now, this will begin in 2024, this new rule. Academy leadership explained in a statement, "We believe these inclusion standards will be a catalyst for a long-lasting, essential change in our industry." And Kirstie Alley minced no words in her original tweet. She deleted it. But here's what her first tweet said. "This is a disgrace to artists everywhere. Can you imagine telling Picasso what had to be in his effing paintings? You people have lost your minds. Control artists. Control individual thought. Oscar Orwell." She later explained, after that tweet was deleted, she said, "I deleted my first tweet about the new rules for Best Movie Oscars because I feel it was a poor analogy and misrepresented my viewpoint. I am 100% behind diversity, inclusion, and tolerance. I'm opposed to mandated arbitrary percentages related to hiring human beings in any business. Not the first time Allie slammed Hollywood. Good for her. Very few people in Hollywood dare to stand up to Hollywood. Last year, she tweeted, I refuse to be part of the Hollywood asshats who can't see that not working with Republicans is as stupid and nasty as refusing to do business with gay people. Stop acting above the fray, you damn hypocrites. We are the same species. Let's help each other, you damn yahoos. I like Kirstie Alley. Boy, I'll tell you. When she has no filter. I love that. Less people need a filter. Less people need to be like Kirstie Alley, like Donald Trump, like others, mostly conservatives, I dare say. Donald Trump has emboldened a lot of conservatives, while the self-righteous propaganda left still embraces hate and hypocrisy, the double H's. It's the 2H club. It's the progressive 2H club. I'm going to come up with 4. I want to call that, and I don't want to demean the 4H club. I'll come up with like 3 H's, the 3: hate, hypocrisy, and I don't know. Come up with one for me. Somebody help me here. 6219759, 6219759, 207-441-6969. Well, Jemele Hill, you remember her? She's the black woman who used to work. And I see, I never would say the colors of people before, but you need to know where this stuff comes from now, because the left has made this all about race. So we necessarily have to say so you're getting a fair look at both sides. And here is a fair look at Jemele Hill, who is, she's something else. She's a somewhat progressive and racist. She formerly worked for ESPN, lost her job there, currently writes for, you ready? The Atlantic. Well, there you go. That tells you about all you need to know about the Atlantic, doesn't it? That's where the underemployed and the unemployable go to find work, at the Atlantic. Now, she is under fire on social media after openly suggesting that she will lie to smear Travis Tritt. Huh? Yeah. On Sunday, she wrote, quote, I've been blocked by both James Woods and Travis Tritt. Had anyone asked me about Travis Tritt before today, I would have said he was a nice guy based off meeting him at the Kentucky Derby a few years ago. Then she added, now I'm going to retell that story and make him seem like a huge a-hole. Children, they are only children. She works for the Atlantic. Okay, so knowing that, take the article in the Atlantic about Donald Trump calling military people suckers and losers. Take that with a grain of salt, because they employ the likes of Jemele Hill. 9:54 on Legacy 1160 WSKW. And we're going to be talking about, I'm not going to have time to this hour, I'm afraid, but coming up, we've got a lot of audio for you, a lot of audio. We're going to be talking about the Bob Woodward book, Rage. Is it Rage? Is that the name of it? I think it is. I'll check it out. I think it's Rage. It's a new book about Donald Trump's administration. So we've got some audio on that for you. And we have, not surprisingly, how much time the networks gave it. And I mean, I'm not talking about the cable networks who give these people all the time they want. I'm talking about the news stations you watch every night. After your 6 o'clock news, you watch ABC, NBC, or CBS, right? Well, they are just as propaganda as the cable networks now, because they're all on the same page. They're all progressive leftists. They're all trying to get Trump out of office, and they're all doing book promotions for anti-Trump books. Not a mention of Donald Trump being nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. Do you remember when Barack Obama won the Nobel Peace Prize for no reason at all? Now we're talking Donald Trump is brokering peace between Israel and the United Arab Emirates. That's a pretty big deal. That is a pretty big deal. So he was nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. Zero coverage from mainstream media. Zippo. You aren't getting the news from the news you're watching. You aren't. Why watch it? Why waste your time on it? You're getting propaganda shoved down your throat. Instead of giving any news, remember what they gave Obama for doing nothing? Oh, he won Barack Obama. Barack Obama wins the Nobel Peace Prize. For what? Tell me there's not a slant to all the news. That's a laugh. It's 9:57. And we've got all the book tour stuff coming up here with Bob Woodard and some audio from that whole fiasco. Straight ahead. It's, whoops, hold on. I've got a G. I don't, gee whiz. Gee willikers, everybody. I don't even have my break ready to go. All right, so we'll be back after the news with a whole lot more. Hopefully you'll stick around. I'm John James. This is Freedom's Pep Rally.
WSKW, Legacy 1160.
It's time you earned your spot in the finals of the Cornhole Classic with Legacy 1160 WSKW. Don't miss out. This is your chance to win $1,000 in cash, a gorgeous trophy, and statewide bragging rights. And we've got 2 exciting qualifying stops coming right up. First, we're at Manchester Motors on Western Avenue in Manchester, Saturday, September 12th, with the games beginning at 10 a.m. Then we head to Damon's Beverage on Jefferson Street in Waterville on Monday, September 14th, with a game starting at 5 p.m. Now, both players can sign up in person before the games begin, or better yet, visit legacy1160.com/cornhole to register in advance for either stop. Now, before you head over, take a minute to check out all the details on contest rules, locations, and more at legacy1160.com/cornhole. 4 teams from each stop will make the finals, culminating with the championships on September 26th at Ray Haskell Ford Lincoln. It's the Legacy 1160 $1,000 Cornhole Classic, brought to you by Connected Credit Union, Majors Furniture and Appliance, Damon's Beverage, Trailside Performance, Manchester Motors, HT Winters, and Ray Haskell Ford Lincoln.
Still more negative ads from millionaire Sarah Gideon criticizing Senator Collins' PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program, which saved hundreds of thousands of Maine jobs. Gideon's hypocrisy? Her husband's law firm got at least $1 million from the same program she attacks. Here's another PPP hypocrisy by Gideon: paying herself back for personal political contributions. That's right, Sarah Gideon was caught repeatedly violating federal election laws by paying herself back for personal political contributions to other politicians through her own corporate-funded Maine PAC. That's more than hypocritical. That's corrupt. Sarah Gideon is PPP, as in a predictably pathetic politician. Say no to Sarah Gideon and her hypocrisy. Senate Leadership Fund paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. www.senateleadershipfund.org.
From the Home Auto Group Studios, Farmington Ford and Franklin Chrysler in Farmington. This is WSKW, Skowhegan, Augusta, Waterville, Legacy 1160.
ABC News, I'm Faith Abubey. As we learn the latest numbers on unemployment across the country, the Senate gets ready to vote on a much smaller economic stimulus bill.
Senator McConnell's pandemic relief bill is a tiny fraction of the $3 trillion plan passed by the Democratic House, and McConnell's not even sure it will pass.
I would hope this might appeal to some of the Democrats.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says Republicans must compromise.
If they come back and meet us in the middle, we'll be eager to talk to them.
Millions of Americans awaiting some new assistance from Congress. Andy Field, ABC News, Washington.
The Labor Department now says 884,000 Americans filed first-time unemployment claims last week. That's unchanged from the week before. And while it's down from the multi-million weekly claims we saw at the start of the coronavirus closures, Wildfires still raging in California and Oregon. A 12-year-old boy and his grandmother killed in a blaze near Portland. This is ABC News. Police in Georgia overnight tracking down the suspect in the shooting of a sheriff's deputy, Dalton Potter. Cops say he may have shot and wounded a civilian while trying to evade police. The warning in parts of Tennessee, look out for a roaming tiger.
The sheriff in Knoxville says several agencies are looking for a tiger that is missing from a wildlife management area 4 miles east of Knoxville. A deputy spotted it near the Forks of the River area of Knox County. The sheriff's office, Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency, Knoxville Police Department, and people with the Tiger Haven Zoo are involved in the search. Tiger Haven claims to have 250 animals, all but 10 of which are tigers, lions, leopards, and cougars. Ken Weaver, ABC News, Nashville.
And the so-called Tiger King is now asking for his get-out-of-jail card. Joe Exotic, real name Joseph Maldonado Passage, has now officially filed a request for a pardon. He's serving 22 years after being convicted of trying to set up the murder of a rival animal sanctuary founder. Faith Abube, ABC News.
Microban 24 protects against Staphylococcus aureus and Enterobacter aerogenes bacteria, but does not provide 24-hour protection against viruses. Every time you touch a surface, you leave behind bacteria. To keep surfaces sanitized all day, use Microban 24. Spray on hard surfaces to kill 99.9% of viruses and bacteria initially. Once dry, Microban 24 is effective for 24 hours on bacteria when used as directed. Microban 24 sanitizing spray, bathroom, and multi-surface cleaner.
Right now, you can soak in the savings at the Home Depot Days of Doing Bath event with new low prices on the latest, greatest faucets. Vanities from as little as $159. Plus, get up to 40% off all online bath essentials, as well as free delivery for online vanities. So relax and restore your space with beautiful bath savings now at homedepot.com/bath. The Home Depot, how doers get more done. Valid through September 27, U.S. only.
Here's a man who won't be controlled by the government. He'll keep his guns. He'll keep his gas guzzler. And he'll keep his thermostat where he damn well pleases. Here's the friendliest man in America, climate change denier, John James.
You've probably heard that American Airlines is now permitting flight attendants to wear Black Lives Matter pins. And in a related story, passengers are complaining about being charged a $50 Marxism fee. They keep adding these fees on. How are we going to be able to afford to go anywhere, kids? 10:03 here on Legacy 1160 WSKW 207-441-6969. It's 441-6969. That is the text line if you want to hit us up with a text. And I will get to some of these. Okay, good. Good comments. Live stream is still working good. If you ever have any problems with anything, whether it's on air, the video, the audio online, whatever, let us know. Text or Facebook me. I'm open to everybody. We've got 10:04 on Legacy 1160 WSKW. Sorry, I was reading a note from somebody here. It was easy to tell. We're talking about the Nobel Peace Prize that Donald Trump has been nominated for. And a lot of people just hearing this for the first time because they watch the news, which isn't the news anymore. It has in the last couple of days become an anti-Trump book promotion tour. Now, it's easy to tell that they're in full campaign mode the last two nights, last night especially. They spent large chunks of their newscast between the three networks, the big three that you watch, 0 minutes on the Nobel Peace Prize, which would have taken 30 seconds to mention, oh, by the way, Donald Trump has been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize for brokering an agreement between Israel and the United Arab Emirates. In other news, but no, the three networks spent a total of 16 minutes and 26 seconds being up in arms over something Donald Trump told Bob Woodward back in April. They didn't mention the peace deal because Middle East peace, they're anti-Semites anyway. They're all, I'm going to say that. I'm going to say that. If we're all racists, and that's what they say, all conservatives, if you support Trump, you're racist. In fact, a woman teaching a class to progressives we had on 2 days ago said, if you're white, you're racist. And you were born not to be human. That's what she said. That's what she said. I've got the audio of it. So if we're racist, then I'm going to tell you right now, all of those thugs on NBC, CBS, and ABC, along with the cable networks, they are all anti-Semites. They don't care about Israel. They don't care about Jews. And the fact that Israel and the UAE are going to be dealing together finally because of Donald Trump and his involvement with his administration, that doesn't mean anything. The fact that Donald Trump made statements to Bob Woodward in April, though, ooh, now that's ripe for picking. That's exactly what they did. Okay, here's the breakdown for you. The CBS Evening News dedicated 7 minutes, 8 seconds to this new book by Bob Woodward. World News Tonight, ABC, 5 minutes, 9 seconds. And NBC Nightly News, 4 minutes, 9 seconds. They were the least. That 4 minutes, that's a pretty substantial amount of time for a single story, don't you think? At that rate, you're talking like, you're talking about 6 or 7 stories during the newscast. If they dedicated as much time, and that's just NBC, they're the least. But in their defense, they did spend a lot of time the night before with Lester Holt promoting Michael Cohen's new anti-Trump book. So they're all fully engaged for Joe Biden and for the left. Just know that. Know that when you watch the news on television, even the local news to some extent, even the local news, they're not as biased as national news, but they still have some bias to them. But national news, you're not getting the news. You're getting what they want to spoon feed you. You are being spoon-fed propaganda. There's a reason for that. Understand it and stop watching if you are smart. I can give you some places to read unbiased news. Try The Blaze. Try News Thud. Try, OAN, the One America News Network. Try Breitbart. You want news, take your time. You can go through as many news stories as you want, and they are all truth. They present facts to you, both sides. You watch news, you're not getting it. I'm just getting a text here. Rick Savage did a FOIA on Augusta for emails concerning his restaurant. That's Freedom of Information Act, by the way, if you don't know what FOIA is. 8,500 emails among the bureaucrats during this pandemic. So far, Tyrant Mills has not complied with her email FOIA. I would need to get more on that. Thank you, Mikkel, for that information. Yeah, there is a Freedom of Information Act, but again, that seems to only apply to one side as well, oftentimes. So we've got more book promotion here from MSNBC. This is from News Thud. Appearing on MSNBC with Rachel Maddow. She is a Trump derangement syndrome sufferer. We saw her break down into just about tears on the night Hillary lost. But she made time for former Trump attorney Michael Cohen to promote his new book and discuss the conspiracy theory about how President Trump may resign from office and pardon himself. I'm not kidding you. This is Rachel Maddow. This is Rachel Maddow. Rachel Mad Cow. Cohen explained, well, my theory is that if he loses, there's still time between the election and the time the next president would take office. He elaborated, during that time, my suspicion is he'll resign as president, allow Mike Pence to take over, and then he'll go ahead and have Mike Pence pardon him. How does anybody watch this stuff with a straight face? I mean, this is, if Saturday Night Live was this funny, they might be doing better in the ratings. Listen to conspiracy theorist Rachel Maddow and convicted felon Michael Cohen last night.
But you say at the very end of the book that the president and Attorney General William Barr ousted the U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York and tried to install effectively the president's golfing buddy as the new U.S. attorney there because the president, in your view, wanted to arrange for himself to be indicted while he's still in office, because that would give him the opportunity to pardon himself after he lost the election. I just wanted to make sure that I understand the point that you're making there. Just ask you to elaborate on that a little bit, because I'm not sure I understand.
My theory is that if he loses, there's still the time between the election and the time that the next president would take office. And during that time, my suspicion is that he will resign as president. He will allow Mike Pence to take over, and he will then go ahead and have Mike Pence pardon him. And it's a very, let's just say, it's a very Nixon type of event. And it was probably discussed between Roger Stone and President Trump at some point, that this is certainly one way to avoid any potential prison time.
I suppose if he was going to do something like that, he could arrange for the type of pardon that Nixon in fact got, where Nixon hadn't been charged with anything. It was a prospective pardon.
Oh, it's a prospective. He hadn't been charged with anything. It's a prospective pardon. All smart there, aren't you, Rachel, with your conspiracy theories? And Michael Cohen. But does that surprise you that she had Michael Cohen on, though? So this is how it's going to end. If Trump loses in November, he'll resign, allow himself to be quickly prosecuted, and then have President Pence pardon him. That makes perfect sense. That sounds like something out of an Alex Jones story. Of course, MSNBC has a history of having on the dregs of public life Michael Cohen, Adam Schiff, Michael Avenatti, Peter Strzok, James Comey, Al Sharpton, Brian Williams. It's like the who's who of losers on there. It's MSNBC. And I heard the sirens while Michael Cohen was talking. What did you, let me see if you and I think alike. When you heard the sirens there in the background, and I'm sure you probably did, what came to mind? Did a certain song come to mind when you heard the sirens as Michael Cohen is talking? This is what came to my mind, okay?
When you ran away and I got on my knees and begged you not to leave because I'd go berserk.
Right? Huh?
Well, you left me anyhow.
So Michael Cohen, blah, 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 blah. Resigned from office, blah, blah, blah. Get himself convicted, blah, blah, blah. Get pardoned.
Me away, ha-ha, they're coming to take me away, ho-ho, hee-hee, ha-ha, to the funny farm where life is beautiful all the time, and I'll be happy to see those nice young men in their clean white coats, and they're coming to take me away, ha-ha!
Oh, I know that's politically incorrect, but look at me over here. Do I look like I am even the least bit politically correct? We weren't politically correct when I went to school. There was no political correctness. None. I mean, we didn't call people names. I mean, we knew not to call people certain names. I mean, the N-word. I mean, we weren't rude and obnoxious, but there was no filter on us. And the teachers didn't care as long as we weren't vulgar. We could say what we wanted to, pretty much. We could bring our guns to school. Well, you know what? A lot of my classmates I see on Facebook, they've evolved. They've evolved and they've become woke. I have not evolved, nor will I. I don't have that much time left. Why would I want to evolve into something that, whoa, yes. Well, you're just a stupid old man, John James. Yeah, but I'm happy as hell. I like my life like this, I'll be honest with you. I like to be able to laugh at myself and laugh at others. I will if I want to. 1016, Legacy 1160, WSKW. Oh, but wait, there's more. Oh, there's a lot more. When it comes to race, it seems if you're liberal, you can be racist. What's that? Yeah, liberals can be racist. Candace Owen called that out. Candace Owens it's Owens. I always don't put an S on the end of it. Always put an S on Owens and Stacey Abrams. So anyway, Candace Owens said the other day, and we played the piece right here on this show. She was talking with Ben Shapiro. And she was saying that, you know, when it comes to race, white people really should have no say in it. That the real racists are the white people who tell the black people, you know, this makes so much sense to me. So much sense. Think about it. Wrap your mind around this for a minute, will you? If you're a white person who is on the side of human, you're a human right. We all want human rights. Don't tell us we're racist because we're white. We all want human rights. I don't care what color you are. If you're a nice person, then that's great. That's all I care about. The color of the skin doesn't matter to me. The color of my truck, which happens to be black, by the way, the color of my truck doesn't matter as long as it's a good vehicle and goes good and hauls stuff. I don't care what color it is. I don't care what color my guns are. I've got black guns. I've got silver guns. Why, I've even got a brown gun. They're all good. They all work. They all do their job. I don't care what color people are, as long as they're quality people. So you've got these white people, these self-righteous white people saying, well, you know, we're going to work for you because you are being kept down by, and they're saying it. The white people are saying it. I've got a person I had on the air who is saying it. There's not white supremacy isn't the word. It's white privilege. You've got white privilege. So they're telling black people, I know I've got white privilege. But listen to this. What are they saying to the black people by telling the black people I've got white privilege? They are admitting, or they think they are, they're admitting, I'm better than you. I'm better than you because I've got the privilege. You're lower than me. I'm better. Who's the racist? Who is the racist? It is the left. Candace Owens called it out. And we've got another guy you're going to hear from, another black man, another great black voice, who is going to call it out pretty much the same way as Candace Owens did, part of our Black Voices Matter series. So let's get to this story about a professor at George Washington U. Very bizarre. It's kind of like Elizabeth Warren and Rachel Dolezal, both faking their heritage for benefit, for self-benefit. According to CNN, less than a week after George Washington University announced Jessica Krug would not resume teaching this semester after the professor revealed she had been lying for years about being black, the school announced she has resigned. Dr. Krug resigned her position effective immediately. Her classes for this semester will be taught by other faculty members, and students in those courses will receive additional information this week. according to a statement from the school. It continued, "We hope that with this update, our community can begin to heal and move forward." How sensitive are people? We've got to heal. Okay, somebody is stupid. Somebody does something dumb. Somebody pretends to be somebody they aren't. Just get them the heck out of here. Fire them. Let them quit. Get them out. Okay, boom, they're gone. I'm healed. What is this time of healing? Healing? Over what? So you've got a poser, a faker who leaves, who is faking it all these years. People believed it. All right. Now she's gone. Heal? We've got to heal. Now, if you're in a school and a teacher dies or a student dies, now is the proper time to use the word healing. This is where healing needs to be done. The healing? What is a healing? This is one of those politically correct, one of these I don't even know what to call it. It's one of these liberal words that is misused, overused, to make it sound like, and maybe the students are so hurt, maybe they're in fetal positions. I can't believe she's gone. I can't believe that Dr. Krug was lying about being black. Can't believe it. Really? Good Lord. We've got such weaklings. The word snowflake fits. I love it when leftists throw snowflakes at conservatives. I love that. How are we snowflakes? I mean, you say and do just about anything, short of physically hurting us, and we're pretty resilient. That's not a snowflake. Those who melt to the ground and cry and get all upset. Now, those are your snowflakes. They're melting like the Witch of the West and the Wizard of Oz. So anyway, Dr. Krug is done. Now they've got to heal. Request for comment from Krug, who is a history professor specializing in African and Latin America, have not been returned. The resignation comes after backlash from Krug's essay, which was published on September 3rd, in which Krug admitted to masquerading as North African, African American, and Caribbean-rooted Bronx blackness throughout her adult life. I mean, for one thing, for me, that just sounds like too much work. That just sounds like way too much work. But it got her ahead, got her where she is, I'm sure. She is, she said, actually white, Jewish, and from Kansas City. Well, okay. All right, that's a stark contrast, right? One student from George Washington University who had a class with Krug told CNN she fronted as an Afro-Latina woman from the Bronx. Okay. All right. What can I be? What can I be? I've got to think of something that'll get me a good job, a good high-paying job. Have you ever wondered what a fake African-American sounds like? Okay, listen, now I've got a little of a Dr. Krug here. It shows she doesn't really hold the culture she has been misrepresenting in very high esteem. This is her.
He went over the top today in the...
Whoops, is that? No, that's not it. Hold on. No, that's crazy. That's crazy. Where is it? Is that it? Yeah, here it is. Okay, here you go.
I got a couple of things to say, and when y'all come on and tell me my time stops, out of here. It's been 7 hours. Not only did I have to listen to these cops, and not just the cops, but to be honest with y'all, city council members, you posing like you opposing them for your sound bites, for your social media, for your re-election campaigns. Out of here. You've been supporting the cops in the pandemic.
She sounds ignorant, doesn't she? Doesn't she sound kind of stupid? And this is what she thinks black people sound like, and she's a white Jew? A white Jew from Kansas City, posing as an Afro-Latina woman from the Bronx. Okay, nobody was onto this? Nobody thought, well, maybe we ought to do a background check on her. She really doesn't seem to be black to me. Nobody? No, but no, of course, it's academia. She was a liberal. That's all you need. That's all you need. I can't tell you. I mentioned this last hour. I can't tell you how much paperwork of proof of my parents' heritage I have to file just to become a member of the Calumet Club. Yet I can walk into George Washington University, I can walk into Harvard University, say I'm a Native American, say I'm an African American, my skin's light, and have a job tomorrow. You can't make this stuff up. Our Black Voices Matter series. Outkick partner Jason Whitlock was on Tucker Carlson last night. The primary topic of conversation was Jessica Krug. Here's what some of Jason had to say about this little incident.
This really blows my mind, but where we've gone in this country is that there is a business built around racial grievance. And that business is booming at such a level that white people are like, hey, I'm going to adopt a whole new identity so I can benefit from being baby Al Sharpton, baby Jesse Jackson. And in academia, this is being embraced, and she's been able to pull off this scam. But it's not just her. This isn't just an anecdote. We've had it with Rachel Dolezal. We've had it with the Sean King guy on Twitter, who is white, who has pretended to be black, who has lied and said that, oh, my mother slept with a black man and she didn't tell anybody about it. All of these people moving into the race bait industry and business, and it must be very profitable and lucrative because everybody wants to be down with the cause. And y'all know that Jessica Krug is just keeping it real, yo.
He's a great guy. He is just a great guy. His name, again, Jason Whitlock. He's an Outkick partner. Now, how does the left get a pass on all of this? Jason Whitlock.
I keep trying to explain it over and over and over again, and people think I'm crazy. The branding has been so strong that if you put on this label of being a liberal, there's virtually nothing you can do negative against black people that will be seen as negative. White liberals, I'm sorry, they're the actual bigots. And I know that that's going to blow a lot of people's minds, but liberalism to me is now the new KKK hood. Bigots used to hide under hoods. Now they hide under the label of being a liberal and a progressive.
There you go. There you go. That's why all they've got is things like check your white privilege. You're a racist. You support Trump, you're racist. Or as this woman went so far to say at the Progressive Convention we played earlier this week, if you're white, if you're merely white, you're racist. It's like, I guess it's more natural than being a boy or a girl. You may be a boy or a girl, you may be cisgender, you may be transgender, you may be this gender, that gender, any gender. But if you're white, you're racist. You're racist when you're born, and you're not born to be human. She said that. And I've got the soundbite somewhere. I'm not going to look for it. I played it earlier this week. Maybe we'll bring it back if the need comes up. But it's just amazing. It's just amazing. They just throw names around. They throw names around because it's easy. It's an easy way out. They can't explain what they mean. They can't illustrate what they're talking about when it comes to these terms like white. I keep white privilege, and all the other names they use, white privilege and systemic racism. They can't really elaborate. So they racist. Okay, well that covers it all. That's the argument right there. Their arguments could literally fit on a bumper sticker. How often have you heard that? And it's the truth. More racism. More racism. Vernon Jones. You know who he is, right? He is a supporter of Donald Trump who has now been pretty much excoriated by the Democratic Party because he is supporting Donald Trump, and now they hate him. They love Vernon Jones of Georgia, but now they hate him. Hate him. He's not black anymore because he supports Trump. In a recent interview with Alex Marlow of Breitbart, Vernon Jones says Democrats are putting illegals before black people and other American citizens. Okay? Did you hear that? Democrat. He's a Democrat. He's saying Democrats are, he's saying pretty much they're racist. They're racist and they're xenophobic against their own country people. They're putting illegals before any of us. They're putting illegals before blacks. That makes them racist. They're putting illegals before our country. That makes them xenophobic. They are putting illegals, according to Vernon Jones, a Democrat, before anything. Illegals get a pass. That's why we want to get rid of the ICE cops. That's why we want to get rid of DHS. By the way, the reason government is here, their place in the world is to protect us from enemies, foreign and domestic. DHS, ICE, the police protect us from enemies, foreign and domestic, as does our military. They want to cut the military. They want to get rid of ICE. They want to get rid of DHS. They want to defund the police. The very reason we have government, the government wants to do away with. This is totally upside down and backwards. Am I making sense? Do you understand the consequences of doing away with our protection? That really, in my mind, that makes the government null and void because they aren't doing job one, to protect our constitutional God-given rights. That's job one of the, and that's not to collect taxes. It's not to fund the Kennedy Center. It's not to give us all medical care. It's not. It's to protect us from enemies, foreign and domestic. We have probably as many domestic enemies now as we do foreign. And they want to let the foreign ones come in, and they want to allow the domestic ones to go crazy and do whatever they want. They are derelict. That goes for both Democrats and Republicans. The Republicans are not taking a very strong stand. While you have Chuck Schumer and you have Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, by the way, Chuck Schumer isn't even the Senate leader. He's only the Senate minority leader. And the guy is outspoken. He's yelling. He's screaming. He's being heard. Where is Lindsey Graham? Where is Lindsey Graham? You don't ever see him. Shouldn't he be up there speaking out, being loud? I'm telling you, these Republicans could learn a thing or two from Donald Trump. They better get off their asses and start doing stuff, or their days are numbered. 10:33, back with more. I'm John James.
Legacy 1160, WSKW.
Were you thinking of enrolling at Kennebec Valley Community College this fall, but now worry it's too late? Hi, I'm Nicole, a student in the mental health program at KVCC. And do I have some good news for you? KVCC has a flex start semester.
Hey, whoa. Hey, Facebook friends, how are you? So, share if you would. I sure would appreciate that if you would do that. And thanks for being here. We get a lot to get to. We've got some great audio here. I've got a news source for you. Actually, it's from Australia. It's Sky News. I think that's an Australian news. I believe it is. I'm going to go with that. Sky News is Australian. But I'm telling you, if you want a real look at what's going on here in America, oh no, it's from the UK. Sky News is British. I'm sorry. The accent sometimes throws me. So Sky News is from the UK, but you have to go there to get a look at what's going on here. Isn't that awful? To get a look, to get an overview, a look from the sky, as it were, a look at everything that's going on, you can count on Sky News. They'll tell you what's going on. They know more about what's going on and will tell you that. I don't know if they know more, but they'll tell you more than David Muir or Lester Holt or Rachel Maddow or Joe Scarborough or Wolf Blitzer or anybody in this country will tell you, because they don't want you to know what's going on. They see it, but they don't want you to know because they have an agenda. Stop watching the news. Fox News is the only one. And I'm not, I sound like a right wing. I don't watch Alex Jones. Alex Jones isn't my cup of tea. They think we're all Alex Jones Kool-Aid drinking fools. The left does. But you've got to go where you're going to get some unbiased news. And it ain't any of the major networks. It's not most of the cable networks. And it's not most of the websites. You know, you've got Huffington Post, Washington Post, and so many others that are nothing but, and Vox.com, Salon.com, don't even get me started on those. Okay, we're back. Sky News, we got Sky News. You're going to want to hear this, trust me. Coming right up. Share and share alike. Thank you.
Partly sunny, warm and humid today with highs in the upper 70s and 80s. Chance for a shower or thunderstorm late afternoon and evening. Becoming mostly sunny, less humid and cooler for tomorrow with highs just around 70. Sunny and nice Saturday with the chance for showers Sunday.
Your pep rally for freedom is back. Powered by the Gun Shop in Augusta on Coney Circle. Now, here's John James.
Yeah, welcome back. Had a nice little conversation with my Facebook buds. I can do that now. We've got everything all worked out so I can have a private conversation. Yes, Huffington. Yeah, I was talking about on the Facebook feed. I was talking about how horrible some of the online. It's not just the network news and the cable news. It's also some of the online outlets, and they're just horrible. Huffington Post, Vox.com. Salon.com may be the absolute worst, but they're all pretty atrocious. Anyway, so those are ones you want to avoid. Let's see. I just got a picture. All live. Oh, my word. I love All Live Splatter. Nobody cares about your protest. Keep your ass out of the road. That's what the sticker says. Right. And this, thank you for that. I know I don't mean to sound cruel here. And I don't mean you should run anybody over either, by the way. But as we know, your right to swing your fist ends where my nose begins. I've got to get somewhere. I'm on a public roadway. You lose the right to stand in that public roadway and block traffic. It is not meant for you. Whether you're a pedestrian, a protester, a kid playing with a Tonka truck. God forbid that ever happen. I've had nightmares about stuff like that before, and you have more of these nightmares too, by the way, once you're a parent or a grandparent. I hate to even, if nothing else, it makes me more cognizant, I guess. I get the chills, but I can't help it. You think of things you don't want to think about. Things happen in your mind you don't want to think about. Like every time I hear of the horrid story. We've heard a couple here in Maine of parents or grandparents accidentally backing over a kid in the driveway. I mean, sorry, my life, checkout time, which is very, very selfish to say. But if I ever accidentally harmed or worse to a kid, I think I would just you might as well put me away. And I'm sure you, as a parent or grandparent, are exactly the same way. It's just something you don't even want to imagine. But yeah, when it comes to protests, stay out of the road. Don't be blocking traffic. Why do you want to make protests are supposed to make people think, hey, maybe there's a reason they're doing this. It makes me think. Okay, what can we do better? Well, let's sit down and talk. You're standing in the road. You're blocking me from getting where I want to go. I'm just going to get pissed off. You aren't making any inroads with me. Stay out of the road. In Gorham, they shut down the traffic. I think it was in Gorham a couple of months ago during a Black Lives Matter protest. They shut down a main thoroughfare where restaurants had just reopened. It was on a Thursday, I remember. And they shut it down so there could be a protest in the street. When these businesses aren't even probably mostly going to survive, a lot of them aren't going to survive. And they're blocking traffic so they can't get into the business. So protesters can use the streets for their protest. Well, who's going to see him? If there's no traffic going by to see him, who's going to see him? That was one of my big questions right away. But, and thank you for the sticker. That's very fun. I probably wouldn't put it on my vehicle, but it was very funny and very well placed too, by the way. 1041 right now on Legacy 1160 WSKW. I was telling you about this thing. Sky News is it's a UK news outlet. And they actually, they know more about, or they will tell you more about what's going on in America than NBC or ABC or CBS, because they're too busy promoting anti-Trump books. Because their main goal is not to give people the news, it is to bring down a president. So you've got to understand the difference. Objective news, coup attempt. Objective news, no. Coup attempt, yes. Sky News takes a much more objective lean. They tell you what is going on in America, what they see as going on. Now, the left will say, well, that's right-wing hype. But it's not. Right-wing hype, more often than not, turns out to be, the truth. They call it right-wing hype. We call it what it is. It is the truth. So this is a rather long piece, but it's worth listening to. Now, the guy, the host of this is a guy named Andrew Bolt. And he says the Democrats and their media mates are panicking as the monster they thought looked beaten suddenly looks to be the favorite to win in November. One big reason is that the far left started a civil war and it's backfired. Now, he also discussed facets of American politics and the upcoming election with a former politician. No, it's not a Republican operative. It's somebody who was a staffer under Jimmy Carter and Bill Clinton. Her name is Barbara Heinbach, and she happens to be a Black American. Proof that if you want real news, you have to forget our media and go across the pond. Now, again, this is a little long. Actually, it runs about 12 minutes, but it's well worth listening to. Here we go. Enjoy.
Now, this is important, and you won't see it discussed many other places. The new American Civil War. Now, suddenly, Democrats and their media mates are panicking. US President Donald Trump, the monster they thought looked beaten, suddenly looks like the favourite to win the November election. How could this possibly have happened after all the media attempts to kill him off? Well, one big reason is the left started a civil war, and it's backfired. For more than 3 months, mobs whipped up by race baiters and the far left have burned, trashed, bashed and looted in a string of Democrat-run cities, Minneapolis, Portland, Chicago, Seattle and more. They're claiming to fight racism, but basically often using that as an excuse to steal, destroy and be racist themselves. For instance, here is a speaker at a protest in Kenosha last week after police shot a black man reportedly armed, accused of sexual assault.
And I got to say, if you kill one of ours, it's time for us to kill one of yours.
And here is John Thompson, a Democrat candidate in the Minnesota election, at a protest last week, right outside the home of the Minneapolis Police Union chief, meant to intimidate him, meanwhile abusing white girls who are watching, calling them Ku Klux Klan supporters.
Y'all got the Grand Wizard living in your goddamn neighborhood on the Clinton exists in Hugo, Minnesota, and it's right here. Don't run now. Don't run now, racist white people. I'm here. Oh, yeah, we pull up.
So, with all that hatred being whipped up by activists and Democrat wannabe politicians, it's not surprising that race protesters in Portland on the weekend, they caught a Trump supporter on the street calling out, hey, we've got one here. And one of those vigilantes, those Black Lives Matter vigilantes, you'll see him in this clip in white, turned, aimed, and shot that Trump supporter dead. Now, you may think this menace, this involvement of Democrats, is an anomaly. I'm cherry picking here. But I don't think many Trump supporters or voters in the middle think like that at all, because they've already seen, for instance, race protesters in California last week chant "Death to America." And they've seen Black Lives Matter protesters threaten and scream abuse at a woman, someone just sitting all alone at the diner when she would not raise her fist in support. They've also seen outside the White House last week anti-Trump protesters punch a man in the head and set up a mock guillotine for Donald Trump while the president was inside giving a big speech. And then the mob surrounded and menaced Republicans leaving that speech at the convention, the Republican convention. People like Senator Rand Paul and his wife got monstered, and anyone else that the protesters could find, male or female, following down the street and threatening them. If you saw Trump supporters threatening Democrats like this, you think you'd ever hear the end of it from the ABC?
Put your hands on me again, I'll you up. Put your hands on me again and I'll you up. Hands on me again and I'll you up.
And through all of this, the Democrats have encouraged the mayhem, or at best stayed silent. I suspect that chaos, according to their calculations, would make Trump look bad and cost him the election. So let it rip. And I'm not exaggerating. Democrat cities like Portland, that's had riots and violence every night for more than 100 days now, promised that many protesters would not be prosecuted. Several mayors instead attacked and cut their own police forces, even as gun crime in cities like New York and Chicago spiraled in the lawlessness. As for Democrat challenger Joe Biden, his staff members, meanwhile, donated money to a group defending people arrested in the rioting and looting in Minneapolis that had turned block after block of that city into literally a smoking ruin. Also, soliciting money to defend them was Biden's running mate, Kamala Harris. Chip into this freedom fund, she urged her supporters, and in an interview said that these protests must in fact go on.
There are protests still happening in major cities across the United States. I'm just not seeing the reporting on it that I had
that's right.
for the first few weeks.
That's right. But they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop. And they're not, this is a movement. They're not going to let up, and they should not. And we should not.
And or should they? Well, but then Donald Trump's poll numbers last week started to rise. And all over, on CNN in particular, that's far left, that hates Trump, they sounded the alarm. What a change that was. Because first note this, just a couple of months ago, one CNN host, Chris Cuomo, who's brother of the Democrat governor of New York, he wouldn't hear of any criticism of this violence.
Now, too many see the protests as the problem. Please, show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
But last week, fellow CNN host Don Lemon, another Trump hater, warned him, wait, the polls show these riots aren't working. Pull back.
The rioting has to stop. Chris, as you know and I know, it's showing up in the polling.
Mm-hmm.
It's showing up in focus groups. It is the only thing right now that is sticking.
It's the only thing that could stick and save Donald Trump. And sure enough, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are now racing out, damning the violence at last. Too late. Harris said, I join Joe Biden in condemning this violence. And Biden had the gall now to say, yes, I condemn this violence unequivocally, only then to blame Donald Trump for the mayhem caused by the left. What does President Trump think will happen when he continues to insist on fanning the flames of hate and division in our society? He said. Well, who's been doing that? Joining me is Barbara Heinebeck, former press officer to the wife of then Democrat President Jimmy Carter before becoming a strategic consultant to Democrat President Bill Clinton. Barbara, I'm shocked by what I see. Thanks for joining us, but how serious is this political violence?
It is terrible, and it has been terrible for 3 months. We've talked about it before, Andrew, and what's so sad right now is that when we watched for the last 2 weeks the Democratic and the Republican conventions, during the Democratic convention they had 5 nights, 4 hours a night. Not one word was breathed about the violence, and Kamala Harris, the woman running for vice president on the Democratic ticket, she went on to say how wonderful Black Lives Matter was. You just showed, a little clip from her, nothing about the violence. And Joe Biden said he could run this campaign from his basement, and he's going to listen to the science. And that means everyone stay low and stay at home. His ratings were up pretty high. Now, as you showed, Don Lemon pointing out just as of Friday, because the Democrats came off a convention where they did 2 things. They talked about what a nice guy Joe Biden was for 5 days. Nothing about his accomplishments. He didn't have any. You could have summed those up in about a minute. For the 47 years he's been in political arena. And also they talked about how much they disliked Donald Trump. No. But what did the Republicans do? Conversely, they had a long list of accomplishments that Donald Trump has achieved, and so many of the things that he's done for people of color, not just for the nation. He has given money on an annual basis to historically Black colleges and universities. Even when I went to Howard University many years ago, they had to almost beg and borrow to get annual funding for the school to stay open the coming year. And now Donald Trump has said, no, you don't have to do this anymore. There will be annual funding coming forth to you. And then he put the embassy back in Jerusalem, where 4 or 5 presidents before him had promised and never did anything about it. It's Donald Trump who started prison reform, and that meant shorter sentences and looking at the numbers of how many blacks are in prison versus whites, and basically looking at, let's correct this so that the crime will lead the time. And you're not going to have someone in prison for many, many years for a smaller crime. So he's looking at that. The economy went up until COVID-19. It's coming back pretty nicely, I think faster than some had expected. And what we're going to be looking at now, when we saw that the Democrats have spent the last 4 years without having done anything policy-driven or constructive for people of the nation, they've spent their time trying to either impeach Donald Trump or trying to blame it on Russia. Is he in cahoots with the Russians and these other scenarios? And I think that the Democrats were hoping that the Black Lives Matter demonstrations were going to end up at the foot of Donald Trump. And what they've done for 3 months, because I do a lot of channel surfing, I'll watch a full clip of the violence like you just displayed a few minutes ago. But when you watched some of mainstream media, they took out those clips and just showed you the part where they were demonstrating, in a peaceful manner during the day. If they were so peaceful, why would they have to hide their faces? I did a lot of marching and protesting back in the 60s and early 70s, when in my college years and younger years. And we wanted people to know who we were and what we stood for. And it was for a goal and a reason. But like Donald Trump called them many months ago, domestic terrorists. That is exactly what they are. They're thugs, they're thieves.
Barbara, this to me seems so obvious. I do not see the media calling it out. We've seen the Democrats actually conniving in this violence. Can you explain to me what has happened to the party that you joined and worked for?
I didn't leave the party. The party left me. And when I look at what the Democrats are doing right now and some of these demonstrations, it reminds me of Hitler. Because if you didn't raise your hand and say, what was it, Heil Hitler, Hi Hitler, now they tried to get Ron Paul they said, say it, say it, say it. And the woman you showed outside the diner or a restaurant, when you force someone to do something, that is taking things beyond the Marxist extreme. And it is all for a political purpose that the Democratic Party has become so desperate, and they have no agenda to run on. And like I say, they came with an empty bag. Their luggage is empty, no accomplishments. And
But
it's
Barbara, what
all
scares
about
me-
politics.
Exactly. And what scares me is that they'd rather America burn than let Donald Trump have a little win on law and order. It's just so sad. Barbara Heinebeck, thank you so much indeed for your time.
Thanks for having me.
I so worry about what will happen if Donald Trump does win the November election. What will they do next?
Yeah, it's a good question right there. Isn't that a great piece? She is or was a Clinton strategist. She worked for Jimmy Carter. She didn't leave the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party left her. They aren't the Democrats anymore. The party, if you're a Democrat, they aren't your party. Don't be an accomplice. It's not your fault if you're a Democrat. And we have a lot listening to this show. I hear from them. Trust me. And they like the fact that I don't demean the people. I demean the left-wing propaganda-fueled progressives, which many Democrats have followed. Many, including a lot that listen to this show, have not. We need you. We need you. Just because you vote, even if you vote for Trump because you know what Biden will bring, you don't have to like Trump. But don't not vote. Vote. Vote your conscience. Vote for our future. Vote for the country and the Constitution. That's all you need to do. If you think with a clear conscience that Joe Biden is going to make this country great, well, then follow your heart. That's all I can say. Vote your conscience, certainly. I'm never going to say don't vote your conscience. But I'm going to do my level best to convince people that if your conscience right now is to vote for Joe Biden, I'm going to try to convince you that that is a bad move. What you don't consider a safe choice, Donald Trump, consider it a safer choice for what you have now. Well, arguably what you have now, freedom, although that has been called into question over the past several months with COVID-19 and the riots. This isn't the freedom we knew prior to March, that's for sure. Now, if you need more proof that Joe Biden is a worse choice, stick around. Stick around. I've got it for you as it applies to guns, as it applies to truth, and more. Coming up. Back in less than 2 minutes. I'm John James.
Keep your focus on what's going on in the state and the country by tuning into my show, The Mike Violet Show, weekdays from 6 to 9 on Legacy 1160 WSKW. We discuss it all, the issues, the news, the facts, and the opinions with some of the most important newsmakers and guests in all of Maine. The Mike Violet Show, brought to you by Kennebec Electric and Lighting. Contact them for all your electric and lighting servicing, including expert installations, repairs, and more. 861-7028 or online at KennebecElectric.com.
Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Center. If your car is a wreck and you don't know where to go, take it to Moody's. You wanna get on with your life, get on with the show, take it to Moody's. Good people who you can trust, and it won't be a fuss.
Take it to Moody's Collision Centers.
MOODY. Your kid was talking on the cell phone, drove right through your own home, sitting in the parking lot. Maybe you get hit a lot, driving through the green light. Suddenly your side swipe, put it in reverse, but it turned out that it was first.
Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Centers.
From the Home Auto Group Studios, Farmington Ford and Franklin Chrysler in Farmington. This is WSKW, Skowhegan, Augusta, Waterville, Legacy 1160.
Okay, I lied to you. We are back in less than 2 minutes, but we do have to break for the news. I didn't have any idea how late it was. Somebody just told me it's 11 o'clock, buddy. I am your buddy. I just want to be your buddy. I am. So stay there. I just echoed what Ken says. That's what Laura says. Stay there. I'm telling you, stay there. If you want your ability to protect yourself in this environment taken away, if you want the ability in this world of defunding cops, defunding ICE, defunding DHS, if you want your ability to protect yourself and your loved ones to go away, then let me be the first to tell you, vote for Joe Biden. He's your guy. Not going to lie to you. We'll have more on that coming up after the news. I'm John James.
Legacy 1160, WSKW.
ABC News, I'm Jim Ryan. New evacuations in Northern California as another wildfire drives people from their homes. ABC's Matt Gutman has more from Lake Oroville.
3 bodies found in Butte County, California after 2 fires there converged. It created explosive conditions. Another 12 people are unaccounted for and several injured just outside of Sacramento. The North Complex fire rapidly growing into one of the largest in California's history.
Another 884,000 people applied for unemployment benefits last week. The Labor Department also says nearly 30 million Americans are currently receiving some sort of benefit. For the first time ever, a major bank has tapped a woman as chief executive officer. Jane Fraser will succeed Michael Corbett as CEO at Citi. Fraser has been with the bank for 16 years. President Trump tweets that Bob Woodward had his quotes downplaying the threat of COVID-19 for months and did not release them because he believes Woodward knew they were good answers. This is ABC News. Israel's prime minister visits Washington next week to sign the new agreement with the United Arab Emirates.
In a blow to the Palestinians, the Arab League refused to condemn the U.S. brokered deal to normalize ties between Israel and the United Arab Emirates. It's the latest sign that the decades-old Arab political boycott of Israel is breaking down. That is, the threat of Iran appears to eclipse support for an independent Palestinian state. Abu Dhabi's request to buy U.S. F-35s, what are the most advanced warplanes in the world, back on the table due to the deal with Jerusalem, a deal that will be signed at a White House ceremony next week. Jordana Miller, ABC News, Jerusalem.
Fresh warnings are coming today from the World Wildlife Fund. In its new Living Planet report, it says the wildlife population, from mammals to fish and everything in between, fell 68% between 1970 and 2016. In Latin America and the Caribbean, it's down 94%. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
You're in good hands from Allstate.
The girls have business meetings.
Meet Zaire and Shalise Hawkins, 2 kids starting their own business called Little Sisters Treats.
We want to inspire other children.
And they got an assist from another local baking business in the form of more than $1,000.
From Allstate, if you're driving less, you could be saving more on car insurance. Save money with Pay Per Mile insurance from Allstate. Call a local Allstate agent and get a quote.
O'Reilly.
This is Derek's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
After the 3rd time jump-starting my car, I finally realized my battery was dying. So I stopped by O'Reilly to have it checked. They tested it right there in the parking lot. It was bad, real bad. But they helped me find the right battery for my car and even installed it for free. Now my car starts like new.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
And now, live from the Legacy 1160 WSKW studios in Maine's capital, here's the man that commands attention, not because he's important or smart, but because he believes in the Second Amendment and packs 24/7. Here's the always well-armed John James.
Hi, how are you? 11:06. Speaking of Sky News, we just heard a piece from Sky News. I just saw this from Sky News. Kim Kardashian releases a video proving she has 10 toes. Now, the rumor had been she had an extra toe, which, that doesn't make her a bad girl. But she released a video showing she has 10 toes, proving it, that she does not have an extra toe. Now, I don't know about you, but when it was all the rage, the thing that made her famous was that sex tape with Ray J. Remember that? I'm not going to say I saw that, but I saw it. I saw some of it. I was forced to see it. And I didn't notice she had more than 10 toes in that video. And to be clear, I didn't notice in that video she even had feet, to be honest with you. John, you're a pig. Well, you know what? I haven't lost my man card. Have I? 11:07 here on Legacy 1160 WSKW. All right, so do you want to lose the ability to protect yourself and your loved ones? You want that? I mean, we're going to have no more law enforcement, no more border protection, no more police in Ilhan Omar's world. All going to be gone. All going to be gone. And by the way, you won't have the ability to protect yourself with your own gun because they don't like the Second Amendment. They hate it. They hate the Second Amendment. So if you like to live in danger, if you're maybe a radical, you're a radical person, you're an extreme sports type person, you want to live your life like like the guy, like James Bond, or I forget his name in 24. You want to be ducking and, hiding out and getting behind obstacles. Then vote for Joe Biden. He's your guy. He's your guy who'll, hell yeah, we're going to take your AR-15. Hell yeah, we're going to take your AK-47. No, I know that was Beto O'Rourke that said that, but Joe Biden said, yeah, we're going to take your AR-15. He did. There's tape on both of those. I don't have them handy here. You know that. You understand they said that, and that's what they mean. That's what they want. That's the start of what they want. The start, and if they have 4 years, they're going to continually try to peck away at the Second Amendment. You need proof? All right, we got you covered there. First of all, I want to tell you, people do understand, Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives, we understand the uptick in murders, in violence, in danger, especially in the big cities. We understand that. We see that every night, although we're told to ignore it. Peaceful protests, remember that. That's what the news tells you, is peaceful protests. But real people say, this news stuff, this is just a fairy tale. It's like a little golden book of fairy tales. People realize there's danger out there. In fact, case in point, gun sales in Kenosha, Wisconsin, among people of all leans, Democrat, but when it comes to protecting your life and your loved ones, to hell with politics. I got a right now, I'm going to get me a gun. The civil unrest triggered by Jacob Blake's shooting has people left, right, center. Has them in and around Kenosha rushing to stock up on guns to protect themselves and their businesses. Gun and ammo stores in the area are seeing a huge surge in people out buying and trying firearms. Many customers coming from neighborhoods right smack in the middle of unrest. Why wouldn't they want a gun? Joseph LaJoy, who owns LaJoy Precision Inc. in nearby Pleasant Prairie, Wisconsin, told TMZ that he completely sold out of every handgun, shotgun, and all ammunition after fielding at least 150 phone calls a day in the wake of Jacob Blake's shooting. LaJoy says the majority of sales were from people who did not previously own guns or ammo. That's kind of a nice... When the feces hits the fan, that's a pretty good right to have intact. And if you don't think it's hitting the fan now, then good luck. You never will. And gun control is a big part of the leftist progressive Democrat platform. And that's what Joe Biden is. That's what Kamala Harris is. Beto O'Rourke, AOC, Bernie Sanders. They'll all be a voice in a Biden administration because Biden has no voice. Gun violence prevention found the spotlight at the DNC a few weeks ago. Latest sign of what was once considered controversial and a third-rail topic. It is now a core issue for the Democrats. All in the name of, and if you're too blind to see, if you're drunk on the Kool-Aid, let me come right out and tell you what it is. It is all about control. Democrat nominee Joe Biden is seen as a centrist. And this year's DNC was clearly designed, at least in part, to woo Republicans who are disenchanted with Donald Trump. And I'm sure they will. Those are what we call rhinos. R-I-N-O. Republican in name only. After 2 days of featuring speeches from GOP mainstays like Colin Powell, John Kasich, Cindy McCain, who is the widow of John McCain, who hates Trump. I really can't blame her. Wednesday night's policy-heavy prime time, that Wednesday night, the first Wednesday night, it was 1 week, so it was the only Wednesday night, was very policy-heavy. And 10 minutes of pre-recorded video and speeches touted the importance of gun violence prevention, a.k.a. Second Amendment prohibition. Prohibition of the Second Amendment? You bet. You bet. They've said it in the past. Some Democrats, not being careful about their transparency, have come out and said they'd like to do away with the Second Amendment. That's a thing among many Democrats, getting rid of the Second Amendment, along with all of the law enforcement in this country. Second Amendment is our first American right and our last chance, our last defense of ourselves and our family and our business and our homes. Emma Gonzalez is a survivor of the 2018 mass shooting in Parkland, Florida. She's become a prominent organizer of March for Our Lives. And at the DNC, she narrated a video with footage of the sites prominent in mass shootings: Las Vegas, El Paso, Newtown. Deandra Dykes, have you heard of her? Deandra Dykes is an activist with Moms Demand Action, which is run by a woman called Shannon Watts. Her son was paralyzed by a stray bullet in Indianapolis at 13 years old. A horrible tragedy. She spoke in a pre-recorded message: I want a president who will make gun violence a priority, and I believe Joe Biden is that person. So, in Joe Biden's world, making gun violence a priority means taking guns out of the hands of law-abiding gun owners who do not shoot 13-year-olds, who do not shoot each other, who do not shoot anybody. But he's going to leave, and this is good, as does Shannon Watts of Moms Demand Action, as does Michael Bloomberg, as does Beto O'Rourke, and the rest of them. I can't name them all. They all think taking guns away from law-abiding citizens is going to make them and their homes and their children and themselves safer. Guess who's still going to have the guns? The people who do illegal things and have illegal guns. Doesn't take a rocket scientist. Gabrielle Giffords, the former U.S. representative from Arizona, she was shot in 2011, later founded the gun control group known as Giffords, had a stirring speech about her recovery. And again, a horrible incident. Somebody who was mentally ill had no right to own a gun. As I recall, this is the kid who killed his mother. Is that the same guy? I get him mixed up. It's his mother's gun. It wasn't his gun. It was his mother's gun. I think that's the same one. She said, we can protect our families, our future. We can vote. We can be on the right side of history. We must elect Joe Biden. He was there for me. He'll be there for you, too, said Gabby Giffords. No, he won't. He won't be there for anybody. He's only there for himself and big government. Hates guns. He hates billionaires unless they support him. He likes control. Those around him who will be his handlers like control more because they know they are the next generation, the exception of maybe Bernie Sanders, of leaders. And they want to be all-powerful leaders. They don't want to be a one-and-done or a two-and-done person if they ever make it to the Oval Office. They want to rule for as long as they want to, as long as they can. That's what socialists, that's what communists do. Donald Trump is the least of our concern when it comes to stepping down if he loses an election. We elect Joe Biden, all bets are off from now to infinity and beyond. Colin Noir is a black voice. He's an attorney. He is a brilliant guy when it comes to firearms and the Second Amendment. He's a crusader. And he's a former NRA TV personality. He does a blog, Colin Noir. It's at Noir TV, Noir. And he noticed that the DNC moved into anti-gun mode, so he took time to set the record straight. Listen to what happened when he starts asking people what they're protesting. That's part of this audio I'm going to play for you. They have no idea what the Second Amendment's even for. They think it's for hunting or for using muskets against your enemies. They seem to be part of the uninformed anti-gun movement. Colin Noir, as always, makes a great case here. Again, this piece is a bit long, but it's worth listening to. Whether you like guns or hate guns, you might understand after this that guns are necessary, especially now. And I think everybody should consider owning them and learning about them and being safe with them and learning about safety, but should consider having protection. Because when seconds count, The police may be minutes, an hour away. They may not even come. Here's Colleen Noir.
On the third day of the Democrat convention, the Democrats went into a full-on gun control advocacy campaign. And now I'm going to break it down with the facts.
90% of Americans support common sense gun laws because we need to do more to address the epidemic of gun violence. Let's start there.
Right now in America, we have over 300 gun laws on the federal level and over 20,000 gun laws on the state and local level. Exactly how many more gun laws do we need until we reach common sense? Because I think we passed that number a long time ago. When your only solution is more gun laws, every gun law is common sense to you. And when you conduct a survey asking vague questions like, do you agree with common sense gun laws? Of course, 90% of the people are going to say yes, because if they don't, it's going to make them look like a monster. That's like asking me if I want to donate $1 to help blind children after I just spent $300 on 5 items at Whole Foods, and there's a line of people behind me waiting to hear my response. I don't know them kids, but I got to say yes now, because if I don't, I'll look like a monster.
People affected by everyday gun violence have to walk by the street corner where their best friend, their brother, their mother, their nephew, where they themselves were shot. And life goes on and on as if we all haven't just watched a loved one die and get put in the grave. The whole point of what I'm saying here is until one of us or all of us stand up and say, I can't do this anymore. I can't sit by and watch the news treat these shootings like acts of God. Gun violence isn't just going to stop until there's a force fighting harder against it, and I'm going to do something to prevent it.
There is a force fighting against it. It's called the millions of people who use a gun to save their lives every year against criminals. We care about saving lives just as much as you say you do, and that's why we have guns and don't want gun control laws that make it harder on us to do the very fighting that you assume we don't do.
They say that tougher gun laws do not decrease gun violence. We call BS!
Well, they don't. New York City literally has the toughest gun laws in the country, and 49 people were shot over a 72-hour period last week. Chicago has literally every single gun law that they're going to propose in this video, yet 64 people were shot in Chicago this past weekend. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. Gun control only controls good people. Bad people don't care about gun control. So when the bad people encounter the good people, the bad people will be the only ones with guns. Gun control may be well intended by some, but the real world results of gun control make life hell for good people.
They say a good guy with a gun stops a bad guy with a gun. We call BS!
But it's true. A 1995 study conducted by 2 criminologists concluded that there are between 2.2 and 2.5 million defensive gun uses every year. However, when you bring this study up, anti-gunners will say, no, that's not true. It's closer to 100,000. And that's supposed to make your argument stronger? 10 to 12,000 people die every year from gun violence. And let's say we go with the anti-gunners number of 100,000 defensive gun uses. That's still a lot of good guys with guns stopping a lot of bad guys with guns.
They say guns are just tools like knives. We call BS!
It's extremely hard to own a gun in London. So which tool do you think the criminals use to commit crime in London? Knives. And guess which tool they are now trying to ban in London? Knives. And when they ban knives and criminals start using hammers, they'll be trying to ban hammers too. So they may not think a gun is a tool just like a knife is, but they'll be trying to ban the knife just like they're trying to ban the gun now. So it being a tool or not makes no difference. Their goal is to ban their way to utopia, even if it doesn't work, because for a lot of anti-gunners, the perceived virtue of gun control is more important to them than the actual real-world effectiveness of gun control.
They say that no laws could have been able to prevent the hundreds of senseless tragedies that have occurred. We call BS!
She's referring to red flag laws, which says the government can come and take your guns away from you if someone feels you may commit a crime in the future, even if you haven't committed a crime. What's next after that? We're going to go to Chicago and take away all the guns from black people since most of the shootings are committed by young black men? While we're at it, how about we take the guns away from all the white people too, since most mass murders are young white men? You see where I'm going with this? Once you make it okay to violate rights for the feeling of safety, none of your rights will ever be safe.
That us kids don't know what we're talking about, that we're too young to understand how the government works. We call BS!
Unfortunately, you don't. Considering the number of people who were at this rally who knew nothing about actual gun laws or the Constitution, much less the Second Amendment.
So what does the Second Amendment say, though? It doesn't say people in the militia. What does it say?
Let's see. Let's see if I can remember.
I gotta memorize. So go ahead.
All right. In my defense, I looked this up at 3 a.m. just to get the wording right.
Like, as far as guns go, so a lot of states, they have things like waiting periods, registration, background checks. You can't carry them in most. Like right now in DC, 99.99% of people here can't carry a gun here. So I mean, would you like to be banned from public places?
No, I wouldn't want to be banned from public places.
You don't want the same rights as a gun, right?
No. What?
So do you feel like the states that have stricter gun laws, for example, have less of a murder rate than the states that have less strict gun laws?
I can't honestly say that because I don't know that statistic off the top of my head. I would say that that's a thing that would make sense in my head. I'd say that's probably what the case, but
it's not the case.
It's not. I didn't know that.
So why are we out here today?
Our lives and the lives of our children.
And what are we trying to achieve?
I want to say never again have a gun. I'm sorry, I'm being inarticulate right now. It's
gotta get into the role.
Yeah, I know. I want gun control, no more gun violence.
I know sometimes when we talk about policy, it sounds like a lot of just mumbo jumbo, but it's more about people. These are people and children dying, and we're not doing anything about it.
So what should we do?
I do think a lot of it does have to do with the people in power. Policy is where the change starts, and I don't have that power to enact that. So we need our politicians to do what they need to do for us. They represent us, so they need to change.
Sure, but what would you like to see specifically from those politicians?
Wow. I think
maybe policy geared towards not just one demographic, but all of them.
Long before this pandemic, our country has been suffering from the epidemic of gun violence.
Actually, it hasn't. 67% of gun deaths are suicides, and the vast majority of the remaining deaths is from inner city gang violence. So no, we don't have or have been suffering from an epidemic of gun violence. Maybe an epidemic of suicides, but gun control won't fix this, because if suicides were a gun issue, we'd be leading the world in suicides, considering we have the most guns in the world. Yet we don't. We're not even close.
Gun violence is a public health crisis, one that disproportionately affects the Black and brown communities.
Gun violence disproportionately affects young Black men who live in the inner city. That is not a public health issue. It's a socioeconomic issue perpetuated by voting for the same types of politicians for decades who pander to your emotions and superficial cultural stereotypes, but never do anything tangible for the community. The Center for Disease Control is not going to fix inner city violence. Joe Biden knows exactly why these kids are engaging in the violence that they're engaging in. He just doesn't care, because it's easier to sell gun control than it is to work on fixing the socioeconomic conditions in these communities.
We must take back the streets. It doesn't matter whether or not the person that is accosting your son or daughter, or my son or daughter, my wife, your husband, my mother, your parents. It doesn't matter whether or not they were deprived as a youth. It doesn't matter or not whether or not they had no background that enabled them to become socialized into the fabric of society. It doesn't matter whether or not they're the victims of society. The end result is they're about to knock my mother on the head with a lead pipe, shoot my sister, beat up my wife, take on my sons. So I don't want to ask, what made them do this?
My freshman year, my high school went into lockdown because a kid brought a gun to school.
We've had to endure live shooter training drills on our schools.
High schoolers have enough to deal with. They shouldn't also be responsible for keeping themselves safe at school. That's the job of the government.
The thing is, you are safe at school. An article written by an instructor at Harvard found that the statistical likelihood of any given public school student being killed by a gun in school on any given day since 1999 is roughly 1 in 614 million. Students are far more likely to die traveling to and from school or suffering a life-threatening injury playing sports. The media hypes up every school shooting for ratings, and the anti-gunners try to leverage every school shooting to push for gun control while terrifying students in the process.
Former Congresswoman Gabby Giffords, shot in the head from less than 3 feet away. But she survived. When tragedy strikes, we seek comfort in knowing we aren't alone.
Join us in this fight.
We seek strength to keep fighting, to keep moving forward. We turn to leaders who share our pain.
What happened to Giffords was terrible. But the level of resilience she has shown after being shot in the head is nothing short of remarkable. And I have the utmost respect for her as a result. That being said, Giffords' shooter didn't use a so-called assault weapon, and he passed a background check to get the guns used in the shooting. I want to stop shooting as much as the next person. But what gun control law, short of banning them all, would have stopped this? The only solution to violence that Joe Biden has is gun control. That's it. Never once did he say, okay, let's roll up our sleeves and deal with the violence in the inner city where the vast majority of gun violence comes from. And he's been in politics his entire life. He literally said he doesn't care. Joe Biden is a politician, nothing more, nothing less. All he knows is power, and he will say and do whatever it takes to get and maintain that power. Honestly, most politicians are like this. So you need to hold them accountable and make sure that they are giving you tangibles and not just nice words. Too many people forget that they have the power to hold their elected officials accountable by leveraging their votes. I'm not here to tell you who you should or shouldn't vote for. But if you are a gun owner and believe in the Second Amendment, whether you're on the left, right, middle, whoever you plan on voting for, you need to let them know that any infringement on your Second Amendment rights needs to be taken off the table. Otherwise, you'll be literally voting to have your rights stripped away from you. Joe Biden doesn't have to be pro-gun control. Being anti-gun is not a prerequisite to being a Democrat. Stop letting them sell you on that idea. No person running to be the leader of a country who made the right to own firearms their Second Amendment in the ruling document should ever run on restricting that right. So anyone planning to vote for Joe Biden needs to make it clear to him and the Democrat Party that the right to bear arms is non-negotiable.
Colion Noir. COLION-NOIR. Look him up. He's an attorney. He's a smart man. And what he just said in 12 minutes should prove to you beyond a shadow of a doubt that our Second Amendment is in jeopardy if the radical left gets elected and has their way. And what he said is true. Being pro-gun control is not a prerequisite to being a Democrat. There are many Democrats who aren't pro-gun control. Thank goodness we have them in Maine. Or we would be looking at universal background checks. We would be looking at, there would be no constitutional carry. And there would be a limit on magazines. There would be no AR-15s, no AK-47s, eventually no hunting rifles. There are people in the Maine legislature who would like all of those laws on the books, and Maine doesn't even have a problem. We don't even have problems like they have in Chicago and New York and Minneapolis and Atlanta. We don't have those types of problems. And those cities I just named, especially Chicago and New York, have unbelievable gun control laws. And their shootings are still out of control, more out of control, arguably because of their gun laws. This is a really big deal. And I've got more if you're still on the fence about whether or not Joe Biden would be the worst of two choices. I actually think Donald Trump is an excellent choice, given what he did and the pressure he's been under, and his Adam Schiff pushing again, talking about impeachment again. Love that Adam Schiff. He gets all the airtime he wants, by the way, on CNN and MSNBC because they love him. And with Chuck Todd, of course, on Meet the Press. So, if you need more reasons why Joe Biden would be a horrible choice for president, in my humble opinion, stick around. I've got it coming up. This is your pep rally for freedom. I'm John James.
Legacy 1160 WSKW.
I'm Becky Shepard, and I'm the owner and operator of Wild Oats Bakery and Cafe in Brunswick, Maine. We've been here for 29 years. In the past, I crossed party lines to vote for Susan Collins, but Susan is not the same Susan that we sent to Washington. When I watch her defend Donald Trump and give excuses for her votes, I feel like she now just plays a political game. I don't feel she's accessible to people. Right now, we have so much division and negativity in this country. I want a senator who's going to be there for me. Sarah Gideon is who I'm looking for. I think she very much understands the challenges that we face. She's put herself out there to get things done for Maine. I also believe she'll work well across the aisle, and we need that so desperately. I think Sarah Gideon is going to do an amazing job when we get her there.
I'm Sarah Gideon, running for U.S. Senate, and I approve this message. Paid for by Sarah Gideon for Maine.
Feeling cooped up? Tired of looking at the same old stuff day after day? Now that we can finally get out and do a little shopping, why not head over to Townline Antiques? At Townline Antiques, there's 2 floors, 50 dealers, and thousands of items from throughout history. They've got vintage signs, furniture, classic electronics, sports memorabilia, jewelry, coins, home decor, and a lot more. Get away from it all with a look to the past. Townline Antiques, open Tuesday through Sunday, 10 to 5, Route 201, right on the Winslow-Vassalboro Town Line.
Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Center.
If your car is a wreck and you don't know where to go,
take it to Moody's.
You want to get on with your life, get on with the show.
Take it to Moody's.
Good people you can trust, and it won't be a fuss.
Take it to Moody's Collision Centers.
MOODY. Your kid was talking on the cell phone, drove right through your own home, sitting in the parking lot. Maybe you get hit a lot, driving through the green light. Suddenly your side swipe, put it in reverse, but it turned out that it was first.
Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Centers.
I'm CBS 13 meteorologist Lexi O'Connor. Areas of dense fog this morning and cloudy, becoming partly sunny, warm and humid today with highs in the upper 70s and 80s. Chance for a shower or thunderstorm late afternoon and evening. Becoming mostly sunny, less humid and cooler for tomorrow with highs just around 70. Sunny and nice Saturday with the chance for showers Sunday.
Savage's Drug is thrilled to share some exciting news from Oakland Pharmacy. They're pleased to be the new owners of Buddy's Groceries in Oakland. Now, what this new acquisition means for the customers is more parking and easier access, as well as one convenient stop for all your groceries and prescriptions. And of course, they'll continue to offer delivery for your prescriptions if needed. Shop with confidence from the same family you've come to trust at the new Buddy's Groceries in Oakland Pharmacy, coming soon to Main Street in Oakland.
All right. Jumped the gun a little bit on that one, I guess, didn't I? It's 11:38 right now. We are Legacy 1160 WSKW, Maine's Heritage Station. I'm John James. Mike Violet, mi amigo, here to start your day every morning at 6 o'clock, 6 to 9. Great guests every day. All kinds of local political insight and newsmakers. And some things you won't agree with, too, especially with Ethan Strimling, huh? Get a little Ethan on, a little, you get a little of everything with Mike. I love it. It's a great show. It's one you should listen to every day. 6 hours of Legacy 1160 will keep you in the know. Unquestionably. 11:39. Joe Biden. Oh, yeah, we got to get back to Joe Biden here. Before I do that, before we get back to Joe Biden, been talking about gun control. You talk about illegal guns. Now, how are you going to stop something like this? Check this out. Chicago's out of control. Chicago police say a group of children have carjacked over a dozen drivers since late June. One victim, Alyssa Blanchard, told the newspaper, the Chicago Sun-Times, she's so traumatized after being carjacked at gunpoint outside her Calumet Heights Club home last week that she's now afraid to go out of her house. She says, I'm scared to use my garage. I don't feel safe in my neighborhood. She's been an elementary school teacher for Chicago Public Schools, and now she doesn't feel safe to leave her house. She was carjacked on July 14th, returning home in the early evening, paper said, adding that a vehicle and 3 or 4 children came toward her as she pulled into her alley garage. The children, 2 children, then pointed handguns at her head and ordered her out of her BMW. She added that one child looked as young as 11. Oh, gun control is going to stop that, right? Yeah, 11-year-olds won't be able to go out and buy guns then, will they? Liberalism is a mental disorder, and I mean far left liberalism. This liberalism we talk about today is different from liberalism of old, because those were liberals you could reason with. No more, not on the far left. Here's a typical story from Chicago. This is from a TV channel. This is from ABC Channel 7.
Chicago police are looking for as many as 6 people, with some as young as 10, tied to a series of armed carjackings. The group is believed to be responsible for at least 16 crimes. They range in age from 10 years old to 17 years old.
10 years old to 17. None of whom, by the way, not one of those kids can legally have a gun. And these are handguns. They're talking about handguns. They're using handguns. Handguns are illegal for kids. Well, just about anybody. Nobody in Chicago can have guns. What does that tell you? Good luck trying to get a permit to have a gun in Chicago. Not going to happen unless you're filthy rich and have all the time in the world on your hands. You want to protect yourself in Chicago, forget about the Second Amendment. It doesn't apply as it's written. It applies by Lori Lightfoot and the city council's interpretation of it, which is the wrong interpretation of it, by the way. Oh, and by the way, I wanted to bring up the Constitution in one other instance, too. This was earlier. You heard Chris Cuomo in that Sky News piece. Chris Cuomo said, show me where it says that protests have to be peaceful. The First Amendment, Chris, you moron. The right to peaceably assemble, Chris Cuomo, you moron. Another phone call, by the way, of him or another recording. I don't even think it was a phone call. Another recording of Chris Cuomo and Michael Cohen, the disgraced felon attorney. He was going to go on CNN for an interview. And Cuomo was all about making him look good. So Cuomo, they literally, like it was like a Hollywood theater, like a theater. They were rehearsing a script for the interview. What? They were literally, it was them. Oh, don't pay no attention to the recording. That did not happen. Okay, whatever you say, CNN. It didn't happen. What I heard with my ears wasn't true. What I saw with my eyes isn't true. It didn't look like a peaceful protest, but you said it was, so I guess it must be. Thank you for clarifying it, CNN. So CNN, speaking of CNN, I'm going off on a tangent here, but this is also kind of telling. And we're going to get to Joe Biden next, I promise. CNN, given that they are a scripted news channel, a propaganda, everything is planned on CNN. It's not news, it's not breaking news, it's pre-planned propaganda. That's how propaganda works. It's all pre-planned and written like a book. But I will say they need to take more caution when assembling their normally liberal lockstep walking panelists, because once in a while, somebody who upsets the Communist News Network gets on. Take Michelle Morrow. Michelle Morrow is a nurse from North Carolina. She's been in the profession for over a quarter century. She attended a reopening protest in Raleigh in April, criticizing on video the stringency of Democrat Governor Roy Cooper's lockdown. Now, Morrow voted for Donald Trump in 2016. She plans to do it again this year. She was part of a CNN panel of voters this past week, having a socially distanced virtual discussion about the 2020 election night in what is always contentious fashion, because they have all these boxes. They have their little panels. It looks like the Brady Bunch, the Shady Bunch. And they're all talking and arguing, talking over each other. Well, Michelle Morrow managed to go viral with this response after she was picked up by the Republican National Committee. Listen to her on CNN. They weren't expecting this.
I'm a nurse, and I've been a nurse for 27 years. And the response to the pandemic has actually been President Trump's greatest achievement. He was the one that closed off all travel at the beginning of February. Do you guys remember what was happening in January? There were no other elected officials that were even thinking about COVID because they were busy doing their impeachment.
Yes.
Joe Biden, he was the vice president for 8 years.
Yes.
So why didn't they prepare for a pandemic?
Yes! Right! Oh, CNN, egg on your face. How did she get on your channel? That won't happen again. All right, let's talk about Bob Woodward. This is what everybody's talking about now. Bob Woodward's book. President Trump has addressed the newly released audio of his conversation with journalist Bob Woodward, in which he allegedly downplayed the coronavirus. During Wednesday's press briefing, the president explained he did not want to frighten people and create panic early on in the pandemic. Well, that makes sense. He suggested causing a frenzy would have led to a sharp increase in the price of PPE. Well, that makes sense. Supply and demand, right? Obama didn't build up the supply when he knew we needed the supply. He didn't build it up, but now Donald Trump's being blamed for not having the PPE when coronavirus hit us after China let it go, and we weren't expecting it, and he is supposed to have prepared us in what was, at the time, a little over 2 years or a little over 3 years, when Obama didn't do it in 8. Hello? Now, to give you some point of reference, here is an actual audio clip about the coronavirus, and this is from Bob Woodward's interview.
I wanted to always play it down. I still like playing it down.
Yes, sir.
Because I don't want to create a panic. You just breathe the air. That's how it's passed. It's also more deadly than your strenuous flus.
All right. So he didn't want to cause a panic. Does that mean he wasn't ready? No, I don't believe it does. I believe he tried very quickly to get the PPE we need and did. They started building ventilators. Now, if you listen to the extended conversation, you'll see that Trump knew, even though he trusted Woodward, that this was going to be a hit job. He knew when he did the interview. It's not like he was going into the interview thinking, oh, it's going to be secret. He knew Woodward was writing a book. So he clearly didn't open up thinking it wasn't going to be revealed at some point. He knew it was. Listen as Woodward describes what the book is about, and then more telling, the president's response.
You know, it's a tough look at the world and your administration and you.
Right. Well, I assume that means it's going to be a negative book, but you know, I'm sort of 50% used to that. That's all right. Some are good and some are bad. It sounds like this is going to be a bad one.
Yeah, and it apparently is. Now, here's some Q&A with Trump yesterday on C-SPAN. This is from C-SPAN. The first question is, in order to reduce the panic, did you mislead the public? Fair question.
Well, I think if you said in order to reduce panic, perhaps that's so. The fact is, I'm a cheerleader for this country. I love our country. And I don't want people to fight. I don't want to create panic, as you say. And certainly I'm not going to drive this country or the world into a frenzy. We want to show confidence. We want to show strength. We want to show strength as a nation. And that's what I've done. And we've done very well. We've done well from any standard. You look at our numbers compared to other countries, other parts of the world. It's been an amazing job that we've done. I think it's very sad in many respects because the incredible individuals working so hard on it, including our vice president, they've done this great job. They haven't been acknowledged by the news media, and they should, for the job we've done, whether it's ventilators, and now you'll see very soon with vaccines and with therapeutics. The job we've done has been incredible. But we don't want to instill panic. We don't want to jump up and down and start shouting that we have a problem that is a tremendous problem, scare everybody. And I'll tell you the other thing, we immediately started buying all over the world. We started buying masks and gowns and everything else. And we don't want to cause pricing to go up to a level that becomes almost unaffordable. So, yeah, in that sense, I agree with it. Yeah, please.
Okay, so there you go. There's more to that, but I'm not gonna play it. So there is a little bit of what Donald Trump said yesterday, and does it not make sense? Now, if you're the manager, and this is a very hypothetical, but you're the manager of a movie theater, and you've got a packed house, and all of a sudden a fire breaks out in the projection room, and before the smoke gets there and people notice it and mayhem ensues, do you, as the manager of the movie theater, go running down through the aisle saying, fire, fire, everybody get out, quick, fire? Or do you say, okay, everybody, we've got a minor emergency, follow me, we're going out this exit down front, just follow me out, everything's going to be fine, you're going to be okay. That makes sense, doesn't it? That makes a lot of sense. That's what Donald Trump was doing. It's so clear. So clear. But that's not how Joe Biden paints it. He tore into President Trump yesterday over new revelations. Actually, this was Wednesday? Wednesday. Over the revelations from his book, Bob Woodward's book, saying that the president knowingly minimized the risk of the coronavirus, arguing that Trump lied to the Americans to cause death, and he put lives in danger. This guy's just out of his tree. Here's a little bit of the speech, Joe Biden.
On the day that we hit 190,000 dead in the United States because of COVID-19, we just learned from the Washington Post columnist Bob Woodward that the President of the United States has admitted on tape in February he knew about COVID-19 that had passed through the air. He knew how deadly it was. It was much more deadly than the flu. He knew and purposely played it down. Worse, he lied to the American people. He knowingly and willingly lied about the threat it posed to the country for months. It was a life and death betrayal of the American people. Experts say that if he had acted just 1 week sooner, 36,000 people would have been saved.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Joe, easy, Joe. Easy, Joe. You're in campaign mode. I get it. And yeah, I know. We're almost out of time. I'm being told we're almost out of time. I don't care. We're going to run a little late here because this is an important follow-up. I want you to hear this. Last night on Sean Hannity's show on Fox, former George W. Bush staffer Karl Rove took Biden completely apart for his blatant lies. Listen to Karl Rove.
He went over the top today, and the fact that the media didn't call him to account or doesn't seem to see any problem with it. I got 3 points I want to make, and so I got a 3-board night. We got a record going here. First of all, I was intrigued by his rhetoric in his speech. He said the president failed to do his job on purpose. That is to say, the president wanted people to die. He wanted them to get sick, and he did it on purpose. He said, this is a life and death betrayal. I mean, that's really over the top. He said, experts say if the president acted 1 week earlier, 36,000 lives would have been saved. Earlier in the year, he was saying if the president had listened to what I was saying in January, he had acted 1 week earlier, 36,000 lives would have been saved. The Washington Post said this was completely inaccurate. This was not accurate. He said the recession was created by Trump's negligence. So it's not the responsibility of the coronavirus. It's Trump who created the recession. And how did the president create that? By shutting down the economy as the science told him to do and have us quarantine at home. Would Joe Biden have said, no, we should not do that? I mean, is he going to listen to the science or not? So he deliberately attacks the president, I think, in an over-the-top way. Here's the more important point to me. I'm interested in what did Joe Biden know and when did he know it and what was he thinking at the time this coronavirus came on? Because right now he's looking back and saying, President Trump did everything wrong and I'm the genius if you'd only listen to me, if I'd only been in charge. So I'm interested in what did Joe Biden say as this came on and what did the people around him who were advising him say? January 27th, he writes an op-ed, says this is a dangerous disease. And here's my plan. In 2021, after I'm elected, we're going to set up a public health emergency fund. We're going to give the president the power to declare a pandemic a disaster emergency, which he already has. And we're going to set up what he called the global health services to help countries around the world. Does any of that sound like this guy was confronting what we were facing at that point? That was the 27th of January. On the 31st, Trump puts in the China ban, and you know what he said? He said this is is xenophobic. This is racist. On the 28th, 3 days before Trump puts in the travel ban, Ron Klain, who's a big advisor to him on health issues, says if he does this would be premature. On the 30th, the day before, Zeke Emanuel, who's a top healthcare advisor to him and constantly being heard, says stop panicking over the prospect of what the coronavirus is going to do. Stop panicking, he says. On the 2nd on the 6th of February, he had an expert, a guy named Erwin Redlenter, said the idea of this is going to be a serious pandemic is not very likely, and the odds of it being a lethal form is negligible. That was the guy advising Joe Biden. On the 11th and 13th, we hear again from Klain. Klain says, this is not serious. We don't face a health epidemic. We face a, quote, fear epidemic, attacking President Trump for raising concerns about it unnecessarily. On the 20th, Zeke Emanuel says this is all an overreaction. We then have Nancy Pelosi go out and say, come to Chinatown. Don't worry about this. That happened on the 23rd. On the 29th, Zeke Emanuel says, you know what? The masks aren't going to work. Don't use a mask. This is the day that the first American dies from coronavirus. And Joe Biden's top advisors on television say, don't worry, don't go out, run out and get a mask. It's not going to do any good. And then on the 12th, as President Trump is putting in place a travel ban on Europe, Lisa Monaco, a top advisor to Biden, and Biden himself go out and double team on the issue of the European travel ban and say, we don't need to do this. This is premature. We don't hear the word mask from Biden. We don't hear the word social distancing from Biden. We don't hear the idea of a lockdown. We don't even hear the idea of invoking the National Defense Production Act in order to get control of the PPE problem that the Biden-Obama administration created by not refilling our stockpiles. We don't hear those until after the middle of March, when President Trump is already talking about all of those things. So I'm sitting here saying, here's a guy lecturing the country saying Donald Trump killed people deliberately. And if he'd only listen to me, when he and his people are not saying we need to shut down the economy, we need to have everybody wear a mask, we need to quarantine in place, we need to do this, we need to do that. In fact, they're saying that's a fear epidemic. And the idea that this is going to be a serious pandemic is very unlikely.
There you go. That's the truth. That is the truth of the matter. Regardless of what Joe Biden says, regardless of the tales he tells, the truth is documented. Karl Rove is a genius. He's really good. I'll see you tomorrow. Mike Violet here tomorrow morning at 6. Starting your day. I'll see you at 9 o'clock. With Freedom's Friday pep rally. Have a great afternoon.
AM 1160.
Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Center.
If your car is a wreck and you don't know where to go,
take it to Moody's.
You want to get on with your life, get on with the show.
Take it to Moody's.
Good people you can trust and it won't be a fuss.
Take it to Moody's Collision Center.